Looks like we are ready to go.
Okay.
Mayor Jacobs.
I'm here.
Committeeman Hickey.
Here.
Mr. Strackoff.
He's here. He raised his hand.
Great. Mr. Travellini is absent but coming. Mr. Rodelius.
You got to unmute him.
He raised his hand. He's here.
Yeah.
I can see him.
Yep.
Mr. Leonard.
Here.
Mr. DiGiovanni.
He's there. Yep. He waved.
You guys can unmute yourselves, can't you? No.
No.
Okay.
No, I think that's the problem. Same with Nick, George and Nick, and Lou.
Well,
There you go.
gotcha. You got it. Mr. Zupnik, let me find you. There he is. He's at with the
there
fish.
he's Scott. Okay.
Can you unmute Scott?
George still can't unmute either.
I might be, you might be able to hear me now. I am here.
You,
All right, now we're good. Thank you.
Mr. Armada? Is absent. And Mr. Walter is absent. Chairwoman Gutschall?
Here. So we have 8.
Yes. Who else do I have to unmute? Frank, or let me see where you are.
Thank you, Janine. Got it.
Everybody just can mute themselves?
Yeah.
Usually,
No, the board members should be unmuted. The professionals should be unmuted.
usually
No, we
everyone
keep the
just
board
mutes
members
themselves.
muted too.
Or I
We do?
mute them afterwards, but they're not,
Right.
Right?
Yep.
You got it.
So we don't talk over one another.
correct. Sorry about the technical difficulties, people.
Somewhere down there is
Adequate notice of this meeting of the Bedminster Township Land Use Board was filed with the Township Clerk and sent to the Bernardsville News and the Courier News and to all subscribers, and posted at the Township Municipal Building, 1 Miller Lane, Bedminster, New Jersey, on January 16th, 2020.
Okay, we will have the flag salute. I pledge allegiance
The flag, United States of America.
To the republic
Public for which
For
it
which it
stands,
stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty
liberty and
and
justice for all.
Oh,
Thank you.
And there's Mr. Travellini.
oh, good. Okay, so we have 9. We have minutes from October 8th that we need a motion to approve.
motion approved.
Who was that, Lou?
Lou,
Lou,
I'll second, Jeff.
okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Oh. Minutes are approved from October 8th. I think we had a letter here from Jeff Lair. He asked to be postponed till December 10th. So I guess we are agreeing to that at this point, and we will have to mention that again at next week's meeting. Is that correct, Tom?
Yes, but we can confirm it tonight if the board, unless the board has an objection. The 1525 Bedminster LLC application will be carried without additional notices, but we'll mention it and notice it next meeting until December 10th. Is that what you said, Madam Chairman?
Yes, December 10th, correct.
December 10th at 7 PM for another remote meeting.
Okay, there's a letter from Tom Collins regarding the remote public meeting protocol. Tom, you wanted to speak about that?
Sure, Madam Chairman. You have been having remote meetings in my opinion, in a manner consistent with all laws and all practices that are normal for an emergency type of situation. You followed the Open Public Meetings Act, you followed the municipal land use law, and all relevant requirements and case law. The DCA adopted a set of emergency rules, which is fairly rare, but they adopted them, they became effective, and they set up, I guess what they think is some sort of authorization to have remote meetings with certain ideas and protocols that they recommended or required in regulations. I'm not sure they really have any authority to tell you what the requirements are for meetings, but the reality is they did. So that being said, it's better to just follow them since they're close to what the laws allow. And that means that they require in the regulations, the draft regulations, that public bodies, including land use boards, adopt a resolution like this one with some standard protocols. And in my opinion, you should do it. And the way that I've drafted it, it complies with the regulations of the DCA, but also more importantly, the statutory and case law of relating to the Open Public Meetings Act and the municipal land use law. I don't think you need to get into the weeds on this, but if you want to, we can talk about it more, but basically we have to do it and you should.
Any questions from the board on this?
Tom, what's the timing to have this protocol? Does this protocol require a resolution?
Yes, and you should have a short resolution that just approves the protocol, and the timing is to do it as soon as possible.
Tom, this is
You'd wait
Rick.
till the next meeting if you want to
Tom,
do
this
it
is
next
Rich.
week, that's fine.
Janine?
Tom, did you just say they don't have any authority to tell us what to do?
That's my opinion, because they don't technically tell you what to do under the municipal land use law or the Open Public Meetings Act. However, what they're trying to do, if I try to give them the benefit of the doubt, is they're trying to help it be a standardized protocol throughout the state that all public bodies at the municipal level and perhaps other levels would follow, so that it would provide shelter to municipalities if they were challenged about remote meetings. Don't worry about it too much, because it's basically what you do already. So,
I'm not, I don't know. I just don't, if they don't have the authority, they don't have the authority, but okay, if it's not a stretch, it's not a stretch. You know, who am I?
Any other board?
I share your reticence, but I also think it's wise to just follow it and then use it as a protective shelter.
Do I hear anybody else? Like, we need a motion to pass.
Well, wait. Tom said it was okay to wait till next week. I think we should at least wait so we can look at it.
That's fine.
I agree.
Okay, all right, that's fine.
I agree with George.
Okay, fine. So we'll have it on the agenda for next.
Mhm.
Tom, is there any provision in here that's additive from the DCA rule?
I wouldn't say additive, Larry, but most of us land use attorneys know there's a difference between a governing body meeting and a hearing of a land use board. The primary difference being the requirements of the municipal land use law for public hearings to be on an application for development that are hearings to be based upon testimony to be provided in the record before the board and solely upon that testimony. So This protocol has a phrase, some phrases in paragraph 9 that make it clear that you can't comment on an application for development hearing by email or text or chat. You must be sworn and testify on the record. And that's pretty much that type of phraseology is added to make sure that we follow the municipal land use law. I think it's sort of a detail that the DCA people overlooked. And I think most land use attorneys agree with me. But if they don't, I don't care. I represent you, so I have to help you do it right. And you can't be having emails and text as your testimony. It's just not testimony.
All right, let's have it on the agenda for next week. You have an opportunity to read it. And we'll have it there. Okay, we have a resolution for the Brown application, 151 Hacken Barney Road. I need a motion.
I'll make,
Motion approved.
Seconded.
Second.
Did you get that, Janine?
I'm going to say that was Larry that made the motion and Scott who did second.
It was Lou.
It was Lou, okay. Saw Scott's green light up.
It's hard for us to see. You need to speak, say who's speaking first, so we understand.
you have to tell me if there's anything good on there.
Okay, now it's an opportunity for the public, if there's anybody on that would like to
Hey,
talk about
Carol, do we need to do a roll call for that resolution?
the what?
The resolution that
Yes, thank you.
Mhm.
Moving right along.
Okay.
Yes, we need a roll call for that. Go ahead, Janine.
Mayor Jacobs,
Aye.
Committeeman Hickey,
Aye.
Mr. Strackhoff.
he's still muted.
He's waving hello.
Yep, Mr. Travellini,
Aye.
Mr. Rodelius,
Aye.
Mr. Leonard,
Aye.
Mr. DG,
Aye.
Mr. Zupnik,
Aye.
Chairwoman Gott.
Open it up to the public. Anything that anyone would like to talk about that's not on the agenda for tonight?
Give the thumbs up or chat signal.
No. Is anybody raising their hand? Do we see anybody? I don't see anyone.
Yeah, not in either view right now.
Okay. I would like to just bring one item up. We need a subject committee for the board. And I believe that you got an email from Janine beginning of the week. And we still need participants for the subcommittee. It's for review of the escrows. We haven't reviewed them in quite a while. And we need to look at just the overall procedures and how they're being funded. So if I don't hear somebody, I might have to appoint people. So,
I have a question.
yes. Who's talking? George?
George,
George, yes.
Yes.
So when you talk about escrows,
Yes.
what exactly are you talking about?
Well, I would go into that a little bit further. We have some objectives that we want to look at. I know none of us have really done escrows up to this point. I think Paul has pretty much taken care of the collections and the review of it. But we as a board need to do that. We need to look at the schedules. We need to at least see what's being charged and just general overall escrow accounts. Janine has found quite a few accounts where they were open for quite a while and should not have been. So we've returned quite a bit of money to people that have had applications that have gone on for quite a long time. And then we have other applications where there's monies due. Applications have, it's just generally speaking, we need to just review them and look at them and look at and see if we're doing it right.
Carol,
Yeah.
I'll be willing to join that subcommittee, Lou.
Okay.
You can sign me up as well too, Carol. It's Jeff.
Nick, I know you looked at this a few years ago. Would you like to be on this committee as well?
Yeah, I guess so, since you brought that up. Yeah, I did quite a study and it never went anywhere. So it'd be nice to see if
I think
this
maybe,
time.
but you having, actually participated in the application side of it, I think would be a good person to be on this committee.
Yeah, I applied for a variance myself.
Yeah, I know you did, right.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll get together. We'll pick a time when we can talk about it. And I'd like to have it reviewed so by the first of the year, we have a good reading of it. Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, all right.
Anna's not gonna make it.
Okay, she's not. Okay.
No.
All right. Okay, thank you. I appreciate you volunteering and we'll talk about it and I'll give you the objectives of what we're talking about. Thank you. So I think at that point we can start our first application. We're going to go out of order. We're going to do pluck them in first. So if everybody's here to start that application, we can have a go.
Yeah, I'll recuse myself.
Who's that?
George.
George?
Yeah. If I think I have to, right?
Tom, does he need to go off, offline for a while? If he's recusing?
If he's recusing, it would be advisable for him to go offline for a while, yes.
All right, we'll give you a call, George, as soon as you come back on.
Well, I'm not gonna take that advice. I'll either go on I'll either stay online or go on the public. I'm entitled to watch as a citizen.
Yes.
Yes, as a citizen you are, yes. Okay. Okay. Do we have the attorney for the application?
Yes, good evening. Linda Herlihy with the firm of Riker Danzig, Scherer, Highland, and Peretti on behalf of the applicant this evening. Thank you, everyone. We represent the applicant tonight, the Pluckaman Inn. As I'm sure you're all familiar with the restaurant. For the record, it's located at 365 Route 202-206, and that's lot 3 in block 57 in your village neighborhood zone. The Pluckaman's been operating at the property since 2005, and since that time, it's become one of the most highly rated restaurants in the state. But like all restaurants these days, they've had to find ways to keep their business going, and that's meant increasing takeout service and the availability of outdoor dining. And while the governor has allowed some limited indoor dining and may at some point increase that, maybe soon, maybe not soon, many patrons are still not comfortable dining indoors. And in general, the applicant has found that they've received very positive feedback to their outdoor dining experience. So with this application, we're asking for permission, amended site plan approval to allow the outdoor dining area to remain permanently at the site. There are a total of 18 tables with 82 seats proposed to be located in the area of the existing driveway off of Route 202-206. In addition to amended site plan approval, we've requested a variance for the required number of parking spaces. The additional seating increases the demand pursuant to your ordinance to a total of 90 spaces. We have 57 existing parking spaces and do not propose to add any new spaces at this time. However, you'll hear testimony tonight, part of the testimony as to why at no time would would all of the indoor as well as all of the outdoor available seating be occupied at the same time, and why we don't think we need additional parking to accommodate the outdoor dining area. I have two witnesses tonight. I have Tal Itzaki from the Pluckamin and Ron Kennedy, our civil engineer. So unless there's any initial questions of us from the board, I would just look to call my first.
Okay,
Thank you. Thank you. So maybe both witnesses could be unmuted to be sworn. And so Tal Izaki and Rod Kennedy, please raise your right hands. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Tal's still muted.
Janine, could you unmute Tal?
Trying to find which one he's under. What is his email? Since I don't see a Tal.
There's a solid
It's
top.
on the top on the first page next to me. I don't know if you see anything. Yeah.
Says asked to unmute.
There you go.
I do.
Great.
Thank you, Mr. Izaki and Mr. Kennedy. And now, gentlemen, please, one at a time, state your name and spell your last names, please, and give us at least a business address.
Tal Itzhaki, last name Itzhaki. Business address is 359 Route 206, Bedminster, New Jersey.
And Ron Kennedy, Kennedy, 265 Main Street in Gladstone.
Thank you, gentlemen. And we'll confirm for the record that the board recognizes and accepts the qualifications of Ron Kennedy as a professional planner and professional engineer. Please go ahead.
Great, thank you. Tal, let's start with you. Will you tell the board your position with the Pluckamin Inn?
I'm the Director of Operations.
And as Director of Operations, you're familiar with the day-to-day going on operations at the restaurant, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Please tell the board why you're requesting the approval for the outdoor dining area to be permanent.
So as you briefly mentioned in your opening remarks, when we opened on June 15th for outdoor dining, we've received a great response from our customers that love not only the fact that they can dine in a safe manner during the pandemic, but also mentioned that they enjoyed us so much they would love to see that year after year. And outdoor dining was always an area that we had limited availability. As you know, we have a patio area that holds just 5 tables, but it was always a challenge to, really accommodate everybody that wanted to use that area, just based on the limited availability. So having that additional outdoor area would be a great way for us to provide some additional services to our guests. And in addition, it will be an avenue for us to recoup over time some of the lost revenue that we have suffered due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
And when we say the outdoor dining is going to be permanent, you intend that it'll be available, weather permitting, at any time of the year, potentially?
That is correct.
Okay.
Weather permitting, yeah.
Do you have heaters as part of the outdoor dining area now?
We do, yes.
What about a tent? Is there a tent over the outdoor
There's no
area?
tent. We don't have any intention to put a tent on.
The tables themselves, they have umbrellas?
Yes.
And are there any graphics or advertising or writing on the umbrellas?
No graphics on the umbrellas whatsoever.
Okay. And then, as you also heard me say in the beginning, we require a parking variance. The additional seats increase the need pursuant to the ordinance. can you explain to the board why you don't feel the parking demand, the actual demand or the need for parking will increase notwithstanding the additional outdoor seats?
So I can see how it appears we may need more parking spots because we have more seats, but what we're asking for is additional outdoor dining. We're not changing the configuration of our kitchen, and our kitchen has a specific capacity to serve, and it's designed to serve as many guests as we can during our busiest season, which is December. We will use that outdoor dining area mostly during times that are typically our slower times of year, which is probably mid-June to mid-September. So at the very busiest we will get, I'd be very surprised if we'll be as busy as we normally are in a regular year, December, clearly not a COVID year, December. And just to further ease the concern is, when we opened on June 15th, we clearly tried to do as many seats as we can on the outdoor area, and we had 18 tables there. As soon as we were allowed to serve indoors, and now with the 25% occupancy, we have 12 tables total in the restaurant. We felt that if we keep the same number of tables outside, we wouldn't be able to serve our guests at the level that we are or they are accustomed to, and the level that we want to serve our guests. So immediately we dropped a few of the tables off, and right now we're serving 12 to 14 tables outside and the 12 inside. So I just don't see how, we just can't serve more than we currently serve.
So the 18 tables would be a maximum number, perhaps during the middle of the summer, but it's possible that you could pull some tables in.
Right. And if we will serve the 18 outside, that means that we'll serve less tables inside. We won't be able to serve all tables inside and then the 18 outside.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any further questions for Tal.
What are your hours that you're going to be operating outside?
At the same hours that we're currently operating, open at 11:30 Monday through Friday, and then we open at 4 p.m. on Saturday. We're closed on Sunday. Typically, our last reservation is no later than 9 o'clock.
And what about lighting? Are you going to be providing lighting for outside?
And not any additional lighting. We do have lights on the building projecting on the driveway. We're not looking to put any more permanent lighting in the area.
Anybody else from the board?
Yeah, it's Larry Jacobs. Just a quick question about any plans to have any bar service outside?
No, we are not planning to have a bar outside.
Wasn't a criticism, more like a suggestion.
And I just think of the nightmare that will be. So no, we were not planning to do that.
I mean, if you had outdoor space and you had a place to stand and have a drink, just saying.
I see the appeal on the customer side. To me, what I'm looking to do, and I think Gloria agrees with me, is really to keep giving the Pluckerman in service and to turn that area to the standing bar. I just don't feel that's a Pluckerman experience. So we will keep the bar where it is, and we'll do outdoor dining outside. But yeah, we're not looking to do any standing.
I got places to go. Don't worry about that.
Anyone else from the board?
Lou?
Lou?
Yeah. Tal, during your busy season in December, do you normally fill your parking lot, or are there still parking spaces empty even when the restaurant's completely full?
We do fill the parking lot at our busiest time. We have an agreement with our neighbors next door, and we use their parking lot as well for overflow parking.
Would that agreement remain in place?
Yes.
Any other board member? No, not hearing anybody. Are we open it up to the public? Let us just check.
Give me a second. Ralph? So Ralph?
Okay.
Hi, guys.
Oh,
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. All right.
Yes, Ralph?
So
Ralph,
I just
please
like to
raise your
talk.
right hand. Thank you. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
I do.
Thank you. And please state your name, spell your last name, and give us your address.
Ralph Aquaviva, ACQUAVIVA, 1830 Washington Valley Road.
Thank you, Ralph. Please go ahead.
So I just wanted to comment on for Tall in his parking situation. I also own Delicious Heights. We've been in town basically 10 years. I'd like to comment that typically in the town of Bedminster, once the weather changes, the people in Bedminster disappear. So outdoor dining is like an attraction for us to get the people back to come in. But as soon as the weather goes nice, the town of Bedminster tends to go to like their shore homes. So generally it's not our busy time, spring, summer, the nice time of fall. So that's why I think the parking won't be an issue for the Pluckman Inn, because his peak times are really October, November, once it's too cold outside and, outdoor dining kind of stops. That's what I've noticed as a business in town the last 10 years. The summer, it's impossible to fill the restaurant in the summertime. December is our time to fill the restaurant, but never in like the peak of the summer. Outdoor dining would attract some people coming in, but it's still the outdoor dining. It's a quarter of what we have going on inside the restaurant. So I don't think it should be an issue for Tall and the Pluckman Inn.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the public?
Give me a sec. I don't see any that way, and I don't see any that way. Nope.
Okay, then we'll close it to the public.
Thank you. So my next witness is Ron Kennedy, who's already been sworn and accepted. So Ron, if you would, did your firm prepare the site plan in connection with the application?
We have.
Okay, if you would briefly describe the existing site, the proposed outdoor dining, and then please go through and address the review letters that we received from Mr. Ferriero and Mr. Banish.
I can.
Thank you.
Janine, can you allow me to share the screen, or do you want to put those exhibits out?
Yep, it's already checked.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm not at my desk. I can't pull anything up.
Can everyone see that?
We can now.
Yes.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so these are exhibits, Tom, that we submitted to Janine. There are a couple of aerial exhibits that are a little different than what was in the submission, but they have been on file for at least 10 days with Janine. So the first panel is an aerial exhibit of the property. So it's just under 2.5 acres, and it's outlined as my markers going around, outlined in yellow. Generally a rectangular piece of property between Route 202, 206 and Interstate 287. The front of the property has the actual building itself, the Pluckman Inn, and the drop-off area or the curb cut to Route 202, 206 is in the front. And there's also another curb cut to Pluckman Way that allows two-way access to get to the parking lot. Parking lot's fairly simple. It's an aisle with parking on both sides, and it has a lollipop loop that comes around on itself. And access is out through Pluckman Way and either to 202, 206 or Pluckman Way out to Burnt Mills Road. There was an addition or a new building for the wine storage that's in the rear of the property. I'd say about 8 to 10 years ago was approved and constructed. But the original Pluckman Inn building itself is the same that was originally approved by this board. There's been no changes to that area. The second panel I have is a blown up area of the same exhibit, or the same aerial. And in this case, what is outlined in the purple outline is the area that we're speaking about for the outdoor dining. It has the access off of Route 202, 206 that exists today. It has a single drive aisle, one way in, a small drop-off area at the front door of the restaurant, which my pointer is right now. And then it has a loop that's around for dropping off and a valet type of loop. The proposal is to close that area down from travel of vehicles. And it would be closed down as it is today for the last since June at the 202, 206 entrance. And there's a series of barricades that are across there now, and we'll show the planters that are there. And then there's also a series of planters or barricades that are across the parking lot at the drop-off side of the entrance to Pluckerman Way. So those barriers prohibit today and would continue to prohibit vehicles from accessing from 202, 206 or accessing from Pluckerman Way into the drop-off area. So that would be closed for vehicular access. The tables are put there now and would continue to be put there in the existing pavement, both the primary road and the loop area. And that's the total of the 82 seats and the 18 tables. There's no proposed changes to any of the site improvements. So we're not proposing any new curb, any new pavement, any new sidewalk, any new lighting, any new landscaping. It is just reusing the space that's there already. We feel, and certainly the Pluckerman Inn feels, that there is adequate ingress and egress for their customers, for the drop off to the loading area, for access off of Pluckerman Way for in and out traffic. And we don't need the access coming in off of 202, 206. So we feel that's more than adequate to service the 57 parking spaces that exist today. As was discussed, is that there is the 57 spaces, the additional outdoor parking. While it's not cumulative to the use, there is adequate parking on site, and the lease with the neighbor for parking in my pointer shows to the south of this exhibit, shows additional parking that they have an agreement with, that there's more than adequate parking. The parking trends really won't be deviating from the peak parking that occurs on the property today, based on that history that certainly Tal and the Pluckerman Inn has. So we don't see any real changes in trends that are going to cause concern for that. So application's fairly simple in the sense is there's no real site improvements that are being proposed. It's just using some of the property for a different use, the outdoor dining, as opposed to the drive aisle that's there today. That's the essence of the application. As far as the review letters, it just confirms the various numbers that we talked about. There was some questions about the planters and what is along there. I think even in Frank's review letter, he has some photos of the planters that are there, and it's a series of a couple of barrels, wooden barrels that are about 3 foot high, and a series of planters that have some seasonal flowers as well as some evergreens that are there. And there's 6 or 7 that are along 202, 206, and there's about 8 or 10 that are along the rear of the seating area that are there. There was questions about the signage. There's no additional signage that's being proposed. There's no additional tents. I think, Tal, you talked about that. No additional lighting that's being proposed. So it's pretty straightforward as far as what's being proposed, without any, I'll say, intrusions into issues that the board would generally be concerned about for visual impacts to the property. And Mr.
Thank you,
Farrar,
Ron, let's slow down 1 second. Those 2 exhibits will be A1 for the first one and A2 for the second one.
okay.
And Janine, please note that in the record and on any paper copy you have.
Tom, you want the titles of those or not?
Yeah, thanks.
Okay. So A1, which I showed already, the title, let's see how I get rid of this. Hold on. The title is just Aerial Exhibit, November 5th, 2020. Second exhibit is Outdoor Dining Space Site Plan Rendering. Same date, November 5th, 2020.
Thank you.
All right, in Mr. Ferraro's letter, the questions, some of those have been answered already. I think the single question that he brought up is about what the barriers should be and enhancements over what's there today, either in location or the bulk of those We've talked to the Pluckerman Inn about it. They feel where they are is a good location for what they've put out and how they've seen the travel public react to that and haven't seen any problems. They would agree that they would move the table that's closest to the highway and have no tables that would be put closer than the face of the building where my pointer is now. So the setback of the building. So that wouldn't be an issue for them, that the tables would be beyond or behind the distance from the setback from the right of way to the face of the building. But the planters themselves, they're concerned about putting heavier planters in there. Is it looks good now. It has protection that's there, and they want to be able to move these around with time for maintenance and changing out seasonal flowers and other aspects. It looks aesthetically pleasing now, and we feel that it's adequate for the space that's there. I know, Paul, you have some concerns about that, and we can discuss that with the board.
Madam Chair, my biggest concern relative to that was that I wanted to make sure that these were well maintained. And I know generally the Pluckerman Inn is kind of a leader in appearance and that sort of thing. I just wanted to make sure that nothing starts to look like it's ragged or old, particularly as we get to this time of the year when the plants aren't going to be growing so much. So maybe some seasonal supplementing of what's there with more winter plants or decorations would be appropriate.
So, Paul, it's Larry. Just a quick question. So, your comment is recommended more formal permanent planter barrier. Were you considering something like a vegetated berm? Was that part of your thought process?
No, I don't think so. I just want to make sure that what is there is something that looks like it's permanent and not really temporary, if we're really going to have this be a permanent aspect of the site.
Paul, I'm sorry, Scott Zupnik, with regard to your comment in your letter about the fire official, has that all been approved? The fire official said this is all good?
I spoke to him. He did have a couple of comments. Generally, he's fine with it. He says he has good enough access to the entire site. He doesn't need to get down this driveway.
Mm-hmm. I think we need to go back to the planner. Do we resolve that? I don't think we did.
Well, Madam Chair, it's a comment I made. I understand where the applicant wants to go with it, and that's fine with me. It's really ultimately what the board wants, and not my decision. It was just a thought.
And Tal's on the Zoom here now, and he could just say about what his intent is. Obviously, this is the front door of his restaurant, so and on both ends, it's the front door from Route 202, 206, so it's the visual aspect, and then certainly anyone that comes in as a guest to the Pluckerman Inn is going to come park and walk into the back of this area. So there's no back door here. Both are fronts and really important to the aesthetic of the building. So I think he's really going to want to make sure it looks attractive. It provides the perception or the comfort with people that there's a protection from there to the public. And I think that's really important to them. And maybe he can comment on how he's going to maintain it.
Yes, absolutely right. You know, how we look to guests coming in is obviously very important to us. As you know, the property is always very well manicured and presentable. So we did actually, in the planters we currently have, we did have some seasonal flowers there. As soon as the first frost came in, they clearly died. So we immediately took care of that and took them out of the planters and replenished. So we will clearly constantly maintain those and make sure that they look as best as possible for our guests and to make sure that our property looks presentable.
Planning on putting some other kind of plantings, or the other thing is, are you going to leave up all the tables and umbrellas through the winter?
Yeah, we're planning to keep I don't know about the umbrellas, but the tables will mostly stay there. We just don't have storage facilities to put them away. But chairs and umbrellas will be gone. Tables will be there.
And the plantings in the planter, I mean, are you gonna,
Plantings and planters will remain there. They have evergreens there, so they will remain there and will remain manicured throughout the year.
anybody else on the board?
Question in terms of the takeout service and the passenger pickup and discharge. Any issues with that? I'm just trying to figure out where that's happening now.
Yeah.
I can answer that. So right now we have designated a few spots right next to our handicap spots. They're marked, and that's where people are driving up, and we currently bring the food to them. Clearly, with the COVID restriction going off, they can park there and come in if they want to, or we can go out and deliver to their cars. It hasn't been an issue thus far.
And then any issue with, people, normally they would normally have pulled up in front of the front door, let people out or pick people up. I assume they're doing that now near the entrance, the back entrance. Any concern there in terms of traffic or, people walking into traffic?
I haven't seen any issues so far. It's not like, even at our busy, it's not like we have 10 cars lining up, pulling up, right? So if somebody stops, the cars that are coming in, if there is somebody behind, they're slow enough that they realize somebody's stopping to pull, to let somebody out. It doesn't happen too often. When it does, it's not an issue.
Anyone else on the board?
Yes, Carol, this is Rich.
Okay.
So what is the capacity of the restaurant today?
Indoors?
Indoors, without the outdoor dining?
Indoors, we're at about 140 seats.
140 seats. And Paul, the parking requirement that they have today is driven by the 140 seats?
Yes, I'm opening up the site plan right now. Yeah, the parking is based on one space per 3 seats with 135 seats and one space per 2 employees with 22 employees, yielding 56 required spaces, and they have 47.
57.
Yes, I'm sorry, 57.
Okay, so they don't need an agreement or an understanding with the Pluckerman One people or the office building across the street to accommodate their dining needs today from a jurisdictional or compliance with our codes and ordinances today. They have that for the sake of convenience or for the sake of, overflow, if they have a big party, et cetera, et cetera. That's more of a convenience. But when we add 84 additional seats, what would the requirement be? So what's the principal variance they're looking for? They need how many spots, and they're only going to be able to provide what?
It increases to 90 required, and we still maintain the 57 that are there.
Okay, so between the inadequate parking for the additional seating, and I understand the arguments that, it's never filled, you can't accommodate as many people, et cetera, you're still going to have 84 additional seats. At a peak night, I can't imagine you turning people away necessarily, but what's material to your functioning is that agreement across the street. And as long as it remains an office building, and your peak hours are outside their peak hours, it would never be a problem. But would you be willing, and can you make that agreement with the office building material to this application?
That if the agreement with the current agreement with the office building or some similar agreement.
I understand that may only be a license, and it may be
right,
indefinite in terms of its time frame, et cetera. But if it should cease to become an office building, like so many office buildings are being repurposed at this point in time, if it should cease to become an office building, the ability to use parking spaces there may go away.
Right, and I just want to frame the question appropriately. So if that goes away and we're unable to obtain a similar agreement somewhere else within the immediate vicinity, then you're saying the outdoor portion, the outdoor dining would go away.
Or would have to be reduced accordingly, because it seems to me you don't get to the parking requirements that you have and
Right.
unless without that agreement.
That we come back and deal with perhaps lesser seats, prove to you another parking variance, perhaps over time, everyone would see what the actual use is, et cetera. So that's the question.
I don't think, and I would defer to Tom, I don't think we can necessarily make a judgment with respect to utilization. You may sell the business and put a, and the buyer may want to put a Chick-fil-A in there and they've got, 100 people in the parking lot. I have no idea. So I don't know that we can really speak to the present utilization or what the utilization may be. The ordinance is designed to accommodate a restaurant and the appropriate parking associated with the restaurant. And you don't have it if you expand the 18 tables without some arrangement with either the people across the street or maybe the bank on the other side or what have you. There may be other opportunities, but I think material to our consideration is that you have something in place. And it's great that you do, but if that should ever go away, that, might impact your ability to park everybody on the site properly.
Right.
Carol, this is Lou.
Yes, go ahead.
I'd like to follow up on Rich's point there. So this question is for Ron Kennedy. Ron, can you give us the math as how you got to 90 parking spaces? Because roughly, to me, it looks like it should be less than 90. I'm thinking maybe like 85. And you already have one credit because you're supposed to have 56 and you have 57. So if you maybe could give us a little bit review on the math.
Certainly, when we got this approved, it was 135 spaces within the building. And that was what was counted. And it was, as Paul said, one space for every 3 seats. And your zoning requirement requires one space for every 2 employees. At the time, we had guesstimated that it would be 22 employees. So that gets the math to 56 spaces. To get to the 90 spaces there is an existing under the canopy that is behind the bar where my pointer is now on the screen, behind that bar, there is existing 19 outdoor seats that were originally approved, not counted in the parking count because it didn't count at the time when we did those counting.
Okay.
So there's 19 seats that were originally shown on the plan. But again, that wasn't counted in the parking requirement. And going back when this was approved or prior to this, there was a lot of debate with this board and the governing body about outdoor dining and how to count that. And there was a big TCBY issue with parking and outdoor dining across the street behind the McDonald's. But in any event, that didn't count. But there was 19 spaces out there.
Okay.
Or 19 seats, not spaces, strike that, seats. So when we had the 19 seats to the 82 seats, then it's a total of 236 seats, and that gets us up to the 90 spaces.
Okay, great, thank you.
So that's the delta that's there.
Yeah, I thought that outdoor seating was already counted in there.
No, it wasn't at the time. It wasn't. We had it shown on the plans, but it wasn't, again, it wasn't double dipped because the general notion was if you're inside, you're not going to be, you're going to have, if you're outside, you're going to have less people inside.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Ron, follow up too. I'm sorry, Carol.
No, go right ahead.
Follow up too. How many spots would you dedicate to the carryout function? Tal mentioned, people bringing the, food out to the cars, or maybe a carryout spot or two for people to, go into the store and pick up their food. But are you making any accommodation for parking dedicated for those purposes?
Not really, Rich. I mean, I look at it this way, is 4 years ago on a Friday night, if I called Tal and said, listen, I'd like to go and get some food and I'm not feeling well, whatever it may be, is they would accommodate me then, but the volume was really low. There wasn't a lot of done there. And it's not like what you would do with a national chain restaurant that has signs and, it's a big part of the business, but to their strong customers, they do provide that service from time to time if they can provide for that. COVID changed things. COVID went and said, we need that more because of the new world we're in, but then the dining's down. So we're not getting those parking spaces filled now. So that balance, if and when the vaccine and COVID and people are going back out again, then I think the need for that takeout will go down. So by doing that, I wouldn't necessarily take into account that we need more parking because we have a takeout component. Any restaurant around here, including the Pluckerman Inn, has always had some form of a takeout component, but it's very minimally used.
And if I can just add to that, the need for, or the demand for takeout has come down even now that we are available for 25% inside and a limited outside area. So I agree, and it goes back to my comment about kitchen capacity. We are limiting how many takeout orders we're taking right now per half hour. So to make sure that our kitchen can, stand ahead, on top of food orders. So yeah, I don't see that as a big portion of our business once things go back to normal.
Anyone else from the board?
Yeah, Carol, it's Jeff. A couple of things along with the same things that we're talking about, Rich, and so forth. But just bear in mind, I mean, the parking calculations we're talking about now are at full capacity, right? So right now, indoor, you're only at 25 plus whoever you have seated outside. So for the moment, I don't think that's going to be a huge issue because of the fact that you only can have 25% inside. My question is, as those restrictions ease at some point, hopefully, are you going to alter this outdoor seating in any way, or maybe even take it away altogether if we can get back to a normal, or what, if that ever does happen, maybe not the area behind the bar, but at least the part in the loop. Is there any plan to go back to the way it was before?
If I may answer, no, we don't intend to take it away completely. But as I mentioned before, we still have the capacity that we can serve, right? So 135, 140 people is really what we can serve. And we, as I'm sure you've been to the restaurant, we never have that number of guests at one time at the restaurant. So if we're still using outside, or when we'll be using outside, we will limit the number of tables inside. It will have to be a balance between inside and outside. We just can't accommodate with our facility more than what we're accommodating right now.
All right, so basically, I mean, your kitchen accommodation will probably help you towards the parking requirement at the same time, is what you're saying.
Correct.
So it sounds to me like they'll go hand in hand. The only other question I have is with the takeout spaces. Are you right now using them? Like if people do come in and do a takeout order, are they using the handicap parking, or did you relocate the handicap spaces, or how does that work?
They're not using the handicap, they're using the spots right next to the handicap.
Okay, good. Just want to make sure that the handicap spots were, going to be left as they are.
Yeah.
Okay.
The board, anyone from the board?
It's Larry. I just want to throw something out there that we've got a driveway in the front, and if that's no longer functioning as a driveway, does that become ostensibly front yard? And I'm coming back to Paul's question about more permanent barriers or planters.
Yeah.
And I'm just mulling this over. Is that really tantamount to a front yard? And should that become vegetated and maybe even alter the sidewalk configuration so it's a straight sidewalk if we're heading to the permanence of this situation?
Larry, I actually thought about that a little bit, and then I looked at it and I said, if they do that, they go into the DOT black hole. And frankly, I don't know when or if they ever come out.
So your concern is they lose the curb cut, good luck getting it back.
Worse than that, I don't know if they'll get the approval to take it out. I think it's, who knows whenever the department would get through that.
Understood.
Yeah, we looked at this too, and we had that same, view. We don't want to go back to DOT to try to adjust anything there. From a landowner standpoint, I think we want to keep a single access to that highway. We don't want to remove physically that curb cut, just because of they're near impossible to get. There's one there now, so you get pre-existing protection. But as a landowner, I think that would not be something we'd want to give up and do work within that right of way.
Anyone else?
Madam Chair. Yeah, Madam Chair, Frank here. My comment in my letter that talked about a concrete planter may sound a little heavy-handed, but I guess my biggest concern is only that we can't predict that no one will ever use that curb cut and not paying attention and drive in. Moving those tables back certainly provides a cushion of some distance, but Ron's the emergency management guy here. So if you can recommend to the board, Ron, that this is a suitable protection for the people that'll be behind it, then it certainly looks nice the way it is.
Yeah, I think the distances helps. If you put the tables a little farther back, there's no doubt about it. But as we all know, there's nothing permanent about barriers, whether it's a 6-inch curb that's along the highway now, or bollards or other aspects to protect, be totally protecting. I mean, we see things that this highway system on 202, 206, and 287 and 78 that we can't believe cars get to certain locations. But the notion here is give protection to that area, to the driver that comes in, and putting those barriers up. They're bright, they're colorful, they have color to it, and I think by putting the tables back gives some distance. When we start talking about more permanent, heavier barriers, the only concern I get with that, if there is by chance an emergency, difficult to move if we're something there. But if it's a 100-pound planter, that's easy to move. But you start getting to really heavy structures there, then you have to worry about blocking off access that are a little more permanent, that I get concerned about.
Thanks.
Any other board members? Okay, we can open it up to the public. Janine, you want to look and see?
I do. Can we get rid of the shared screen so I have a better access to?
Sure.
I know Ralph has got his hand up.
Okay. There he is.
Can I come in?
You can.
So I just wanted to make a comment to Rich. So with the parking, if I understood what was going on, could it be something like a reallocation of parking spots during the patio season? So my math might be wrong because I don't remember his occupancy, but let's say he has 150 occupancy load normally. In season, when he opens up the patio, maybe 75 are allocated outside and 75 are allocated inside. This way, he's always within the realm of his parking occupancy, whether he has the agreement with his neighbor or not. It was just a comment. I want to kind of try to Rich to see how he felt about it.
My concern is, and again, I don't really feel like I can confidently speak to anyone's utilization. So, the variance in the ordinance is established the way it is. And if you're increasing your capacity, whether that's indoor or outdoor, you just simply need more parking. I hear, from a practical perspective, I hear what you're saying, but, more tables mean more chairs potentially means more patronage. You need more parking. How much more parking? I don't know. And, and even today, I've gone to dinner there or met somebody for cocktails there and parked in the office parking lot. I know it's a necessary part of their business, but you know, and again, so now we're expanding, we're going on beyond this temporary licensing permit and doing this, you know, not just seasonally. This is a permanent, an application for potentially the permanent use of this. So for me, that agreement is material to my consideration.
So what if you were to get rid of the tables inside the restaurant? Like actually, you know, the tables inside the restaurant became the tables in some sense outside. So he never has more than his 150, you know, patio open or patio closed. He's always at his 150.
That would be a way around it, I guess, Ralph.
Well,
know,
but
just trying to
again,
get out of the box.
yeah, that's not something we'd like to do. We want to allow our customers to dictate, you know, where they'd like to be seated. We'll limit the number we can serve in a given evening, but we wouldn't want to have, you know, have to turn someone away from outdoor or indoor because we've run out of those many seats because, you know, or moving tables, you know, is in the old days, picking up a table and running it, you know, to the outside. So it's where that particular diner wants to be. But I don't think, Mr. Travellini, that we have a problem agreeing that, you know, we need to keep our agreement in place, and or to the extent the agreement goes away and we're not able to get a similar agreement with another local property, another business, that we would have to come back to the board with respect to the seats outdoors. You're
Rich, you're
muted.
muted.
Oh.
Oh, that works for me, at least. Can't speak for anybody else, but that would work for me.
Mr. Collins, could approval be contingent on something like that?
It can be. You know, it's your call. My instincts are that it's always going to be their problem. So if you don't require it, they're going to have to figure something out because it's their loss. So I'm not, if you really feel like you want it, it would be a condition that they maintain the lease agreement or a similar lease agreement with an adjacent property. And if they lose it, they return to the board to address it. You know, the remedy then might be to remove the outdoor tables or. And that, to me, this is not, it sounded like law, it sounded like the applicant understands the need to have parking and they'll deal with it. And they would be the ones that have to deal with it because people would just leave. That's my view. But I mean, it's been operating as outdoor all summer and worked fine. So as far as I know, worked fine.
Yeah, if I may, I tend to agree with Tom. If people can park, they're not coming in to dine.
They're going to leave. That's what people do. And that particular parking lot is that way by its nature. So, but I respect that the board, if the board doesn't feel comfortable, we have to do what conditions will make a majority of the board comfortable. So, and it's not a bad idea. It just, I don't know. I don't.
So
it's you know, we're not here to.
Is it a more elegant
decide.
solution just to say he can't have more than the 157 tables or 100 and whatever seats that the parking is allotted for and leave it at that?
Well, that is something of a solution. The problem that you have is that the seats, it's not so practical to just remove chairs. So I thought about that, but you know, what are they going to do with the chairs and do we really want a restaurant with empty tables, no chairs?
Yeah, I almost thought it would be more like the reduced capacity indoors, including what was outdoors, wouldn't put him over that number anyway.
Yeah, I thought about that. Sometimes you do that when you have a septic limit on a restaurant, but they don't have a septic limit, they have sewer. And sometimes that works, but you physically have to control the number of chairs at a minimum and more likely the tables and chairs.
Going to play a big role in that too, like that they were saying, you know, the kitchen's capacity.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I'm not, you're the board decides this. And the request is to have a variance to allow parking of 57 spaces instead of the required 90 for an existing facility with an outdoor dining facility that's been operating. If you like that condition, we could craft it and they would come back to you if it was ever lost. If the, parking nearby, parking lease was ever lost and no replacement available. I don't know. I want you to think about some other thing. This is a village, and the village, I mean, I'm a real believer in this. People park wherever they want to park and walk to wherever they want to walk to, and they don't ask anybody if they can have permission to do it. And to some extent, I think that's what's going to happen here. No matter who owns the other office area, and no matter what use it is, and that's good. It's good for people to park and walk. And if you're satisfied this works now, I don't think anything they're doing is going to make it work less. So, but I'm just an attorney and a planner. You're the board, you have to deal with this. And so I defer to you.
Is there anyone else from the public that would like to speak?
Yes, Paul Chrisman has his hand raised.
Yes, Paul?
Paul, please raise your right hand. Paul, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Thank you, Paul. Paul, please state your full name and give us your address.
Paul Chrisman, 545 Larger Cross Road in Bedminster.
Thank you.
So, having been a resident 34 years and knowing the Pluckerman Inn as well as I do, I don't go there as often as they'd probably like, but it's a first-class place. You know, when we all remember the old Plucky to what they've built, it's a beautiful facility. I've never found parking to really be an issue. The gentleman before mentioned, I always park in the building, in the commercial building. The parking lot's a long parking lot. Many times it is crowded because it's as well known as it is and it has the reputation that it does. So I would support it. I think we have to do everything possible to try to help, our local people. And, it's tough times. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public?
Not here.
No.
Let's see if anybody's waving a hand.
We're just checking.
Nope, we look good.
You look good? All right, then we'll close it to the public. Do the professionals have anything more that they want to add to it? Paul or Frank?
I do not.
I do not.
I don't either. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. All right, I guess we're ready for a resolution.
It's Mayor Jacobs. I'll make the resolution to approve. I thought about the parking issue. I think that if they lost the access to the parking at next door, just as Tom mentioned, people can't park. They're not going to go there.
That's true. Yep.
I agree.
I'm satisfied that the market conditions will dictate and TAL will have to find alternate means of parking to keep all those tables occupied.
Hopefully
I'm
they'll
not
have that
prepared.
problem.
Yeah. So I certainly don't wish that to happen, but I'm prepared to make the motion to approve without that condition.
Okay, Tom, you want to propose the resolution?
Yes, so the board could entertain it. It's a motion to approve the amended preliminary and final site plan and see variance requested for parking with the conditions of Paul and Frank's reports, and they will not have signs on or lettering on the umbrellas. Whatever it was in Paul and Frank's reports in general, I think they have to move as they said they would, they have to move some tables back to the setback line of the building. And that's all I had, Madam Chairman.
Can I say one thing? All the conditions of the reports except changing the planters to a concrete.
Right. Okay.
If that's, just want to confirm that that was agreed.
Yes, that is not required, but to maintain them is
Yes.
required.
Thank you.
Okay. So we have a motion from the mayor.
I'll second it, Jeff.
Okay, we need a roll call.
Mayor Jacobs?
Aye.
Committeeman Hickey?
Aye.
Mr. Strakoff?
Aye.
Mr. Travellini?
Nay.
Mr. Leonard?
Aye.
Mr. DiGiovanni?
Aye.
Mr. Zupnik?
Aye.
Chairwoman Gotcha?
Aye. Motion has approved.
Thank you
Congratulations.
very much for your time tonight.
Very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, we will continue on, and we have Bedminster Farms up next.
Probably on Robin's desk. All right, let's see. So we've got Mr. Lavery. I can see him.
Okay.
Who else do we need?
All right, am I unmuted, Madam Chair?
Excuse me?
Yes, it is okay that you're unmuted.
All right, great, thank you. Sorry about that. Mike Lavery from the firm of Lavery, Silvaggi, Abramitis and Cohen, representing the applicant, 1120 and 1310 Lamington Road LLC, also known as Bedminster Farms. The last time we were before the board was in July, and at that point, we asked that this be carried so that we could go back to the drawing board and incorporate Lot 19. So the revised plans have been submitted. I have with me this evening Ron Kennedy, who's our engineer and planner, as well as Jim Downs, who's a principal of Bedminster Farms. So without any further ado, I know Mr. Kennedy's been previously sworn on this application. I'd like him to kind of talk about where we've been and where we intend to go tonight. Okay.
Thank you, gentlemen. Please go ahead, Mr. Kennedy. You understand you're still under oath?
He's just running next door for a second, Mr. Collins, to get his map.
Okay.
So if we could just wait 1 minute.
No problem.
Sorry about that. He was working from his desk on the previous application in the next building, so he had to run over here for ours.
Does he get paid travel time for that?
No, I think we take time off the bill for the exercise that he gets, right? Right, Jim? Mr. Kennedy is back in the building.
Okay. Okay, good evening again. So I want to start with, if you put it on mute all the way down, and the volume in your, all the way down on your. Janine, do I have the ability to share again?
Yes, you do.
Thank you.
Ron, just please confirm for the record that you understand that you're still under oath.
I do.
Thank you.
So can that exhibit up, the colored exhibit is still up?
Yes.
Can everyone see that? Okay, great.
Yes.
So since we were here at the last meeting, we have come back and taken into account a couple of changes that we've made to the plans. And I added some more color graphics here to try to exemplify how the site lays out and some of the criteria that we used in the basis for the plan that we have before you right now. The first thing is on the left side of the screen, we have added lot 19, which is a 12.3 acre lot that is fronting Lamington Road, just to the west of the driveway that comes into lot 21, where my pointer is now. So the application's changed from just lot 12, 15, and 21, which 15 is in green, lot 12 is in yellow, and lot 21, current lot 21, is red and the darker red, purple. We've now increased the size of the entire tract to 126 acres. And we've reduced the number of total lots now down to 8. So in the previous application, we had approximately 114 acres and we were proposing 10 lots. Now we're proposing 8 lots on the 126 acres when we add the additional lot 19 into the application. And we had a lot of discussions about a lot of elements and a lot of details of different activities on the property and lot lines and calculations. And I want to try to make that simpler by having this subdivision lot comparison exhibit that we've prepared. And I want to work through each section of that and walk through it. So Tom, do you want to put this as a new exhibit?
Yes, you need a new number and I just don't know what number we're up to. So Janine, do you remember, have any chance to know what number? we got up to?
Well, he's opining on that. I want to start with the lot 15 and 1501, which is in green here. This was a previous application that was approved in 2017 for a 2-lot subdivision. And we've included again in this application, and I'll go through the details of that. But the green area is 22.3 acres. And when I do the calculation for total tract yield on this particular lot, it's 1.65 lots. So the green area is 1.65 lots. Lot 12, existing lot 12, which is the rear of the property, this is the landlocked piece of land, it's 68.5 acres. When I apply the environmental constraints and do the total tract yield, that is 4.01 lots. So it's greater than 4 lots. And when now the new combined lot 19 and 21, the current area is 35.4 acres. When I do the calculations for that, it's 2.06 lots. So I want to make sure that we understand that when I add all 126 acres and apply the calculations of the constraints, the total tract yield is 7.7 lots. So it's not 8 lots, it's 7.7. But that deficiency of not 8 lots is born only in what is the green area, which is existing lot 15 and what was approved as 15 and 1501 in the 2017 application. But the other area in yellow, again, yields 4 lots. We're proposing 4 lots. And the area in red produces 2 lots, and we're proposing 2 lots. So I think that's an important distinction in this discussion with the question that was raised in the last number of meetings that we're asking for things beyond what's allowed. And we do agree that when we did the 10 lot application, that did, and we had proofs for that. We have amended the application now to show conformance to the area of tract yield for lot 12. And now with adding lot 19 and 21 has conformance to the 2 lots on the lot yield. And the deficiency of the total of 7.7 lots as opposed to the 8 lots proposed, is born in this lot 15 that is in the green. So if the resource calculations eliminated the lot 15 and 1501, if that wasn't part of this application at all, and we were just dealing with the yellow area and we were just dealing with the red area, the calculations would yield 6 lots, and we're proposing 6 lots. So we're not adding additional lots to what would be allowed on the yield. If we look at each lot or each area by itself on the details of what's being proposed, in the green area, which is 15 and 1501, that was previously approved in 2017 for a 2-lot subdivision. It had a flag stem that goes up the west side of the lot, the rear lot to lot 1501, and then the remaining lot existed. Both will be over 10 acres, just over 10 acres each. We agree to enhancements to the stream corridor, which much of that has been done already. And we agreed to an enhanced setback on the road. We had represented that the existing house that's quite close to the road, it's actually within the 200-foot setback, would be removed, and that a new building, any new building that was being proposed would be at a minimum 400 foot from the setback, or 400 foot from the right-of-way line on Lamington Road, and an enhanced setback that was pretty substantial to the project. We're still proposing that. Nothing's changed with that. We did get a lot circle variance and a design waiver on both lots for the minimum lot area based on the resource conservation area. The new plan would change none of the lot lines or those conditions. The only change we're proposing is having that driveway, instead of crossing the existing Middle Brook and coming down as a common driveway on lot 15 out to Lamington Road, we would just have that coming out to the cul-de-sac that is shown in blue for the private road out to on lot 12, and then ultimately out to Lamington Road. That's the only change that's on 15. When we look at lot 21 and 19, I'll try to blow this up and see if that re-centers itself. The 2 existing lots, lot 19 is 12.3 acres, lot 21 is 23 acres, for a total of 35.4 acres. The existing house that is on the Vreeland lot, which is lot 21, is where my pointer is now. I'd say in the center rear of the house where it gets skinny going to the rear. The existing driveway on Lamington Road to the house would be actually enhanced as a common or a private road that would service lot 12, because that is landlocked. And it would be extended from where my pointer is now, which is the end of the existing driveway, would be extended into lot 12 as shown in blue to ultimately to the cul-de-sac. The current house, the Vreeland house, is set back 1,450 foot from Lamington Road. No change proposed to that. There was a comment, and I do want to make that comment as well. There was a comment in one of the review letters that there is an accessory dwelling attached to the rear of the garage. That's been removed. That doesn't exist anymore. So there's no request for an accessory dwelling unit on the lot at all. Whatever size lot it is on lot 21 on around the Vreeland house, we will not be requesting any accessory dwelling unit, and that use does not exist. Lot 19 is vacant and wooded. As I said, we're going to reuse the existing driveway as a private road to gain access to lot 12. And in this particular case, on these existing lot 19 and existing lot 21, when we're done with the application or the approval, we would still have 2 lots. We're not asking for any intensity of no additional lots on these 2 lots. And then lastly, on the yellow area, which is currently lot 12, that's vacant. There's farm fields that are there and some wooded areas. It is 68.5 acres. There's no structures. The access to the landlocked piece is being proposed by what's shown in blue on this exhibit, which is the existing driveway would be enhanced or expanded for a private road standard to the Vreeland house and then extended beyond the Vreeland house to the property line on lot 12, extended across the rear of lot 12 on the west side and terminate in the cul-de-sac. And that would provide access to the 4 lots that are being proposed in lot 12. And it would also provide a driveway access to lot 15.01. The lot lines that have been created on lot 12 generally mimic the existing tree lines that are in the farm fields that are out there. And we've tried to recreate those as rooms or spaces that are out on the property. And those lot lines try to mimic those. And that's the configuration that you see with some of these lot lines. The largest lot, lot 12, remaining lot 12, which is 20.85 acres being proposed. So it's almost double the 10-acre zone. That will need relief from the individual lot minimum lot size, not the 10 acres, but when you put the environmental constraints in, it would require a size of 23 acres, and we're have a lot size of 20.85 acres. All the other 3 lots that are in lot 12 comply with that calculation. So they all meet the minimum lot size standard under the environmental constraints. Only one that doesn't is lot 12, and primarily for 2 things. One is the frontage or the road, what's in blue, that has a long length to it. And secondly is that we are having a common tree line between lot 12.06 and remaining lot 12. Obviously, we can slide things over, but then that wouldn't match up with the tree lines, and we think that's not appropriate for that. So it's not a variance, it's a design waiver on this 20.6 acre lot. So what, in my view, is the challenges for subdividing the property that causes the relief is born in reusing or in gaining access to lot 12. It really is in gaining access to lot 12. That's where the relief is being borne by, other than the relief that will go through on 15 that was granted for the lot circle, and the design waiver for both lots being not consistent with the resource conservation calculations for lot area. But on the lot 12 being landlocked, we have only the ability to do a private road from some location, some public road. We're attempting what we think is the best planning tool is to reuse the driveway that exists from Lamington Road through the Vreeland lot, extend that to the rear to those lots. In doing that, it causes complications between lot 19 and lot 20 for the remaining developable area from a zoning standpoint. For the existing house itself, would be 92 feet from the proposed right-of-way where my pointer is right now. The lot circle for this lot 21, remaining lot 21, would not be in compliance with the 500-foot lot circle because of the configuration of the land there associated with the house and the notion that we'd have to have the driveway from Lamington Road back to lot 12. We're not going to get that circle in there, and it's less than the 500-foot requirement. It's 320 foot that's being proposed. Because of the driveway configuration and reusing that driveway configuration, get back to lot 12, what is the lighter red in here, the lighter red, is a gross acreage of 7.72 acres around the Vreeland house, and that's under the 10-acre requirement in the zone. And then lastly, the lot that is to become remaining lot 19, that increases in size from 12 acres to 23.7 acres. So that gets much larger in size. And there is some environmental constraints along the left side of this panel or the east side of there, that there's a stream corridor along there. It is vacant, and a house could be built in the front on lot 19 today. What we're proposing to do is add and put in place an additional enhanced setback of 400 foot, similar to lot 15 that we would have on lot 19. Because of the environmental constraints, the house site itself would be to the rear of the lot where my pointer is now, in the building setbacks. And by putting that 400-foot restriction on there for setback, would really cause the house site to be approximately 1,100 feet back from Lamington Road. So there would be an enhanced setback would be proposed on 19, and certainly the enhanced setback proposed on lot 15. The setback relief that would be needed for lot 21, the lot circle relief and the lot size deviation doesn't increase the number of lots that is in red. So today we have lot 19 and lot 21 that totals about 35 acres. And with this plan, you'd still have 2 lots totaling 35 acres. They'd be reconfigured with the existing house site for the Vreeland house, and then a new house site where my pointer is now that would have an enhanced setback from Lamington Road. Allowing that to happen would not then change any of the streetscape along Lamington Road. There would only be the existing curb cut now, the driveway now. There would be some slight widening from about 12 or 14 feet to 18 foot for the road or the driveway to convert to a road. We would eliminate any new curb cut allowance to Lamington Road. So 1 on 19 couldn't put a driveway in there. Any driveway would have to come off of the common driveway. So there would be no new driveway. And in the bigger sense that on this frontage along Lamington Road, there's 2 driveways that exist today. And when the application would be approved such as this, there would be 2 driveways in the future. So there's no changes to the curb cuts or the driveways that would be on here. The issue, at least in a lot of debate that we had on this application, comes down to the fact is in order to gain access to the rear lot 12, we need some way to get to a public road. We're proposing that along the existing driveway. We stated that already. There's 2 existing building lots that are in red, lot 19 and lot 21. Again, wouldn't change. With this proposed, we're just reconfiguring those, and it's creating a series of, I'll say, secondary variances because of that. But the reality is tomorrow that there could be 2 lots on this property if it wasn't approved. And in the future with this proposal, there'd still be 2 lots on the property. Likewise, in the green, if the board said that we didn't want that driveway to come back out to here, then we can still have and have this approval where we have a driveway that would come out to Lamington Road and cross the existing stream corridor, which we can do. We'd have to go get permits and go through that process and build a culvert or a structure that crosses that, but that could still be done. So the 4 lots in the front of this property are still really allowed today. That's not going to change by virtue of this application. We're just reconfiguring those and again, providing enhancements as well for that reconfiguration. And in the back, what is in yellow, we are conforming to all the lot calculations for frontage, size of lots, and all the various setbacks. The only exception for a design waiver would be on lot 12 under those environmental constraint calculations. So essentially, we have modified the application to be consistent to a more ordinary subdivision, regular subdivision that would be more standard of a subdivision that would comply with the elements of the township zoning. And the deviations that we're talking about, both in overall lot yield, is borne by, again, what I'll say is the green area that we've talked about. And the other ones would conform to the total number of lots. And because of this common or private road, not a common driveway, but a private road being constructed to lot 12 causes some additional relief that's needed on lot 19 and lot 21. So I'll go through the proofs as well for this. I don't know if we want to go through the conversation first with the board, Madam Chairwoman, about the application, so I can explain that before I go through the final variance proofs. Would that be appropriate now? Because I don't want to go through that and then have to revisit that again if there's a lot of comments or questions about what we're proposing.
Yeah, I think I'll open it up to the board. Board have questions?
Yeah, my volume's on.
We're looking. Commissioner.
I have a question, Ron. This is Tom.
Oh, Tom.
Collins.
Yeah.
Tom Collins. I'm sorry. You said that lot 21 will be 7.7 acres, but there's an alternate plan submitted that shows it at 10 plus acres.
I can do that, yeah.
Is
Okay.
that offered? Is that alternate?
I can pull that up, Tom. I'm sorry, I didn't go through that. So this is a second exhibit as an alternate. It's going to take a second to boot up.
Okay, the first one was Exhibit 8. This is Exhibit 9.
Thank you.
So this is, the title of this is subdivision lot comparison, and I have alt with the November 5th date. And the plan is the same in all locations except for right where my pointer is now at the front of lot 21. And the notion here is if the board is concerned about the 10-acre lot, less than a 10-acre lot, and we're proposing 7.7 acres, that there is this alternative that I can slide the existing driveway over, and I say over, this would be to the east, and then have that driveway get altered slightly and come out to Lamington Road about 100, 125 feet to the east of the existing driveway. And the only thing it really accomplishes is it takes the lot size from 7.7 acres being proposed to 10.5 acres. So it gets over of not making a 7-acre lot. But in doing that, I have to disturb more wetlands. There's tree removal. That would be, wetlands transition areas and wetlands that we would disturb. I change the driveway entrance. There'd be more tree removal, and it would change some of the characteristics along Lamington Road. But I did want to show that as an alternative to have a 10-acre lot, and then the remaining lot 19 would be 21 acres. That still doesn't eliminate the variance for the setback for the house, the Vreeland house, which would still be 92 foot. That wouldn't change. And it wouldn't change the lot circle that would need to go into what is in the lighter red for lot 21. That would still need the same relief. So the only relief that would change, that we'd eliminate by doing this, is eliminating the lot size deviation. But it does have an environmental detriment by wetlands, changing the characteristics along that roadway, and then putting a new curb cut out to Lamington Road that would mean more tree removal. And the other thing that would be is not only tree removal, but because I'm building a new road or a new private drive in that area, or private road in that area, I would need to do more stormwater management. So it just wouldn't be the disturbance along the driveway in this area that's in red here. I'd have to do stormwater management features and remove some more vegetation in there. But I just want to show that as an alternative to the board.
Ron, this is Lou.
Yeah.
Why do you have to change the driveway? Why can't you leave the driveway where it is and increase the size of the lot anyway?
Because a core element of this, and let me just go back to the other exhibit, because I think that would be a little better to show that, Lou. And I'm going to blow this up. The distinction we need to make here, and is that the what is in blue becomes a private right-of-way similar to a public right-of-way. So the road itself would only be 18 foot wide, but the minimum width of this blue area from a right-of-way standpoint would actually be 40 foot wide under the RSIS standard. So in doing that, is all the setbacks on either side have to behave almost like Lamington Road or Larger Cross Road or Somerville Road. they have to have setbacks associated with that, even though it's just this small rural lane, it acts almost like a common driveway, but we still have to have the setbacks to that line. So to take lot area, what is in red, the lighter red, and try to take that lot area and bring that over to the purple area under the municipal land use law, that's not allowed because I have a private road between the two. So that's the reason on that other exhibit, we showed the flaring out of the existing driveway about 100, 150 feet to the east. So the only way I can make that lot bigger with reusing that road or that private road would be move the road over, physically move the road over. And again, it could be done, but it comes disruptive to the wetlands and trees and some of the other vegetation that's there.
Okay, thanks.
Can you, Ron, this is Tom Collins. Can you show that alternate drawing
Yep.
instead of this one?
There you go.
So
So in this case, Lou, I had to slide, here's the right of way. I had to slide it over 50 feet in order to make that work. So the right of way was up against here. Now it's 50 foot to the east.
So following along that line, Ron, why can't you just move it over more than 50 feet in the area where it's not wetlands and less over when in the area where you're concerned about disturbance, so that you increase it doesn't have to be a straight line. It can be somewhat curvilinear. And in other words, I'm not impressed that alternate is the only way to do a 10-acre lot for lot 21. So
So I'll do a couple things, Tom, just and I got a lot of different exhibits here, but I'll just say in general, the building envelope for remaining lot 19 would only really be a small area right here. That's really the building envelope that's available based on the road being a front yard and then the rear and side yard setbacks, and then this green area being the transition area. Okay. So that being said, is this transition area, if you follow my marker here, goes all the way to there, and then this transition area comes here, and then there's another transition area down along here. So if the only area then I could deviate, even if I slid this road over more, I'd have to go more into the wetland area itself. But once I get out of the wetland, I can't just shave off. I can move it another 50 feet, but I'd still have to respect the wetlands lines here, or the transition lines for the wetlands, and the curvature of these roads. I can't make a bunch of switchbacks here because it has to still conform to RSIS. So yes, I can move it a few, over a little, but I would still have to go into that area of wetlands transition area. And I really don't want to remove the building envelope that's here already. And the only other building envelope that we say we're going to give up is in the front yard here. And we're going to say we're going to give up any ability to have a building envelope in this front area for the 400-foot setback. So can I move that around? Yes.
But why do we care? Why do we care about using the back building area as opposed to the front building area? Just because it's closer than 400 feet to Lamington, I don't know. It just doesn't strike me as necessary to.
Look at this, Tom. I'd just say, if forget the 400 foot, 200 foot, just a 200 foot is approximately where my pointer is now.
Okay.
So if I keep sliding this road over farther, I will not have a building envelope here to build a house.
Well, but you won't need to have the arrangement you have up by the house on lot 21 if you.
Well,
I don't know. It just doesn't strike me. It doesn't strike me as the best configuration for the alternate. So I'll leave it at that.
Okay, I get it. And again, I truly thought that my view is that the house site back here was better than the house site in the front yard. And when we started playing around with the configuration, knowing that the property corner was my pointer in here in the rear and bowing the road this way, bowing around here and coming through there, it really didn't get us that much more room. It certainly didn't take away the requirement for the 300 or the 500-foot lot circle. I couldn't make that work just because the distance from this point to this point is less than 500 foot. It enhanced the setback somewhat, but with the curvature of a new right-of-way coming around here, with the house being right here, it went from 92 feet to about 115 feet. It didn't add materially, a lot of distance to there. If I got rid of this building envelope and curved the road here. And I'll say this is I've had many series of overlays of what the opportunities were with this driveway and building envelopes and site constraints with these two lots. These are the area that's been the most challenging for us on the property. And we've looked at a lot of alternatives for where the driveway could go.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, this is Rich.
Oh, Rich, go ahead.
In the previous application, it seems to me that the house on what was the other part of lot 21 is pretty much in the same location, right? The road was dividing the parcel,
Yep.
but you had a house on either side of the road.
Yeah, and that's what we're still proposing. That's the same.
Right, so that house location doesn't really change as much as you've consolidated lot 19 with lot 21. The house location really hasn't changed.
Well, in that location, we do have a building envelope in the front, but as I said, because of its distance to Lamington Road, we're willing to give up that building envelope in the front.
And there's an existing house there now.
There is not, but there's a building envelope in the front of lot 19.
Lot 19 has no house on it at all.
It does not.
Oh,
Yeah.
so talk to me about why again, because it seems like you've got this one meandering kind of dead end at this cul-de-sac in the back.
Let me go back to the other.
To get to the other half of 15, right?
I'll pull this up again.
Through that
If we didn't
lot
go to
on 12?
15, I wouldn't change the cul-de-sac. That would still be where it is. That wouldn't change at all.
So how do I get from 15 to the cul-de-sac? There's an easement through one of the lots on 12?
Yeah. Look, I'm going to blow this up, Rich, and you could see that you would come off of the you'd come off the cul-de-sac, and there would be a driveway that would come here to
Well,
the
I can
house.
see it.
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay. So that was the intent, is just to come off there,
That would be the only access to that lot though, right?
it would be, yeah.
You don't have a problem with that from a fire perspective?
No, I mean, again, it would be no different than a driveway. I mean, remember in Bedminster, we have driveways that are 2 miles.
Okay.
Right? So this being 1,000 feet, that's pretty short compared to other standards in Bedminster.
Mine's about 80 feet.
Yeah, I know, but just the bigger picture of this, maybe not on a 10-acre lot, but on, well, I should say that there's one 7-acre lot that has a just under a mile long driveway.
Wow. Okay. All right. That's my questions.
Anyone else on the board?
Yeah, Lou, real quick, Ron. My question about moving the road was designed to maybe save you guys some expense and some work. But just a comment, I really like the expanded lot to make all of them at minimum 10 acres. I like that idea.
Okay. Yeah, and again, the balance is it's some policy with you of a 10-acre lot. If we do that, then we just have to go into areas that are not disturbed. But one of the things that we wanted to do is not change the streetscape along Lamington Road, and we can do that, and we can put landscaping in and those things. But that is an option.
Yeah, I had a question, is George. Ron, can you talk about the road, 40 feet wide? How long is the road? Is it going to be gravel? Who maintains it? Is it open to the public? All that kind of stuff?
So yes, I can, George. So under the RSIS standard, this would be considered a rural lane. So it needs to be a minimum of 18 foot in width. That's the hard surface. It has to have a 2-foot graded shoulder on each side. And it has to have a minimum right of way of 40 feet. And it has to have a cul-de-sac that we show here of a design standard that it's 100 feet and the paved area, the stone area is 80 feet. I'm showing the road as a paved road from a stormwater management perspective, and I'm showing the whole road as paved. We talked about doing it with maybe some stone and chip or other things that Jim Downs talked about, but we're going to approve it as a paved roadway. And we'd have to do the design features with stormwater management as a paved road. But it would be 18 foot. It would have no curb associated with that. And it would have a standard type of cul-de-sac in this 40-foot right of way. The areas that are the existing driveway would have to be expanded to meet that 18 foot, but there's sections that are somewhere between 12 and 14 foot right now.
In any signage identifying, I mean,
Yeah.
restrictions or, I mean, welcome or anybody can go in there?
We're not proposing any gate or anything else. It would still be signed as a private road. But I'll say this, the most similar example I can give you is on Pottersville Road is Colt Lane. Okay, so that exists. It's a private road. The town doesn't maintain it. Town doesn't own it. The neighbors own it. I believe there's 1, 2, 3. There's 6 houses on Colt Lane. And at the end of Colt Lane, all there is a little street sign. It says Colt Lane on it. It doesn't say, don't come here. It doesn't have gates on it. And that's existed, I'm gonna say at least 30, well, more than that. I've been around that long, 40 years, maybe longer, that Colt Lanes existed. So it's similar to that. Across the street from here, another road was designed, but we had a neighboring property owner buy the whole property. It was designed for a 6-lot subdivision. It was called the Emmons Smith Farm. And that road was built, and it was the same thing, about an 18-foot wide road. And it was about, I'm going to say 3,000, maybe 4,000 foot long. That was designed, and a series, I think it was 6 or 8 lots were approved for it. The road was built, but a property owner, neighboring property owner, purchased the whole thing and never perfected the subdivision. But similar type of thing, but the road's there.
And how long is the road from Lamington to the cul-de-sac again?
Let me look that up, George. I just don't recall. Hold on.
Anyone else on the board?
Ron, when you say paved, you mean macadam?
Yeah. And the road's paved, the driveway right now, it is paved to the house site here. All right, I do want to answer George's question. I just had to look it up just to be sure. George, the driveway or the private road from Lamington Road to this cul-de-sac is 3,300 feet.
Thanks.
Anyone else on the board? Ron, I mentioned this the last time when we were at the meeting, and I really have a problem with that road being on the east side of Lot 21. I think it should be on the west side. I don't know what else to say. I mean, I just feel that it's creating a subdivision between lots, we'll call it 21 and 19 and 21, which wouldn't exist. We wouldn't have the variances needed for the lot size on these 2 lots. I just think it would be a better access to these roads. I know these lots in the back are landlocked, so they need access, but I just think it should be on the opposite side of the road, lot.
Okay, let me, I'm going to show you one of the exhibits that we have here, the aerial, that just doesn't have the colors on it. And I understand the comment, and we've gone through, again, a lot of different options on this property. The challenge that we would have is the existing house is here, There's existing structures that are here. And in order to make the driveway, we'd have to remove the house in order to do that, the existing house. That we couldn't go and get that driveway in along here. Oh, there's a better shot. We couldn't get that driveway and move it along here and make the RSIS requirements. It would be right in the front of the house, and legitimately the house and all these other structures would have to be removed.
Well, can't you make it along the lot line?
We'd have to conform to the RSIS standards with the radiuses on here. So it's not like I can just go and do it like this and this. I'd have to still have it gradual. That would have to come through here, and literally the road would have to be right through the side here. So we did look at it, but again, the hardship is created by the existing house location, and there's a series of barns that are back here that are nice. They've been restored. We'd have to remove those as well.
It's Larry. I have a question for Paul on Ron's presentation. And I think we discussed this in another time. One of the problems, frankly, is Lot 21 and the Vreeland house. Paul, if the Vreeland house was taken down, would the rest of the project comply with the primary variances? You'd comply with 10 acres, you'd get your 500-foot circle in. I believe at that point, you'd probably get 500-foot circle on every lot, but other than the Lot 15 property.
I haven't looked at that in a lot of detail, Larry. I can tell you, you're correct. You wouldn't get the circles on the Lot 15 property. I don't know if you can fit one on the Lot 1921 combination. Ron might be able to answer that. I know he said he's got the, and again, it's hard for me to remember the numbers, but the lot up at the south end where the road makes the sharp right-hand turn, I think the one on the end of that, he said he had I guess that was an environmental constraints relief. All the ones inside, Ron, meet the 500-foot circle?
They do, Paul. And I think that I'm trying to answer Larry's question, but I have a scale that I'm pointing out to there. So even, I'll say this though, is even if we got rid of the road itself, is that the distance from this location right here where my pointer is now to this location here isn't even 500 feet. So I can't get a 500-foot circle in here. I can get a 500-foot circle where my pointer is right now. You can see that in blue. You see that 500-foot circle? I can't tell if you can see that, but you can see that 500-foot circle that I'm pointing to now. And I could get another 500-foot circle there, but these two circles are too close to each other that this front lot wouldn't be conforming to the back lot.
So I think the answer then is if you took the remaining Vreeland lot property, swung the road right through the house, then the lot on the left of the road to the east would be conforming relative to lot circle, et cetera. The Vreeland remainder lot essentially goes away and gets merged into whatever, and you have one less lot in the subdivision.
Yeah, obviously, there's substantial improvements that have, on that house, and losing a lot plus I got to take the house down. I mean, that's not something I think the applicant is going to find any way, shape or form acceptable. We'll talk to them about it, but I just think the hardship is that the house is there. We're trying to get the driveway to the back, moving that road through there and losing a lot on top of it. It just doesn't make any sense at all.
And I wasn't trying to make any judgments relative to the variance or the merits. You haven't presented that testimony yet. I was just making a geometry observation.
Yeah. And again, on the geometry, we've drawn circles, we've drawn roads, we've drawn a lot of different things in there. And there's not one, I'll say, simple solution that all of a sudden says, ah, there we go, and we've solved the most of those problems. I keep going back to the simple aspect is lot 21 and lot 19 in any respect. There's two lots there today. There's one house on one lot. There's another house that can be built on lot 19. And at the end of the day, that we're proposing two lots. And while the driveway or the roadway comes through here, I just don't see the fact is on a rural lane, if it's 92 foot from that road, that's all of a sudden going to be so inconsistent with planning in the rural area of Bedminster Township. That's going to look so out of place to the space that's there right now. I just don't see that concern. As far as the lot circle, its shape is that we still have two existing houses that are on 35 acres. And that's what we could build today if we didn't have that. And I think this configuration works. It doesn't make it any worse. I think it makes it somewhat better because we're staying off of Lamington Road. And the only people that are going to see any visible aspect of coming of that house closer to that road is going to be the people driving down this private road. It's the only people that are going to see it. No one from Lamington Road, no one from the public's going to see that.
And Ron, while lot 21 is more than 10 acres today, the 500-foot circle is a pre-existing non-conforming use on 21 now anyway.
No, because where I am right now, that is on lot 21 now. So I think
No, I'm talking about this Breland house. That doesn't have a 500-foot circle now.
No, but it's part of that same lot.
Where you're showing the new houses on 21, right?
If you look at the Vreeland house and you take that southwest corner of the adjoining lot to the northwest, to the northeast, and the southwest corner of 21 there at that little elbow.
Here.
That's not 500 feet, is it?
No, it's 450 feet. No, it's not 500 feet. Correct. So it is a pre-existing.
We're not making that any worse.
No, and again, I'm going to say you're just moving, you're moving issues around, and I guess that's my point of this is there's you can always debate whether it's better or worse, and that's certainly up for the debate, but it still goes back to is it's not enhancing the fact that you're getting more lots than before. It's just moving things around, and there's relief because of this configurations that being requested, but looking at the whole package is you have two house sites today, you'll have two house sites in the future, and any of those deviations, whether it's a lot circle or whether it's a setback or even the lot area, one driving down Lamington Road won't know the difference. One driving down this common driveway or the private road, I'll say won't know the difference either of whether it's on a 7-acre lot or a 10-acre lot. They won't see the difference or feel that difference. And on the Vreeland lot, as you all know, is the development in the R10 zone is totally controlled by lot coverage. So in this case, that lot coverage has to be reduced in order to make sure it complies. So you can't, I'll say, overbuild on that lot, because it would be only under this configuration, a 7-acre lot, 7.7 acre lot, and you can't overbuild on it. So you can't put too much lot coverage. You can't add a lot more things on it that all of a sudden seems like it's overdeveloped because it has a lot that doesn't conform to 10 acres. So I think anyone driving down this roadway, the private road itself, and really the public's generally not going to drive down. They're going to be allowed to, but they're generally not. It would just be the people on these houses that are on lot 12 and the houses that are on lot 21 and 19. So we're moving around what the deviation is, but those deviations, because the configuration of land today still exists today. What's causing the deviation is the driveway, the private road. But there's still math on this lot circle that I'm not going to have two lots here and eliminate and have two lot circles. It's just not Even though we have 35 acres, it's just not going to be able to do it with the configuration of land that's there.
Ron, have you looked at putting the access road on lot 15 to get to the back of 12?
We've discussed that. Again, I think that in order to do that, you're going to have a pretty big crossing over the Middlebrook that you'd have to go to do back in there. And you got a pond that you'd have to deal with down to that area. And the DEP permitting, and I'm showing, let me blow this portion of the screen up. And as you may recall, all those different color lines that are there, the blue line, the light blue line, the green line, the purple line, they're all regulated features of riparian buffers and wetlands and corridors, stream corridors that require substantial permitting. We were taking that existing driveway that is there today and reusing some of that to get the driveway crossing. When it goes to a road standard, it's gonna be a challenge. So we did look at it, but we felt it was going to be a pretty significant challenge to get a road crossing over, I said the Middlebrook, it's actually the Hoopstick Brook, I mistake, the Hoopstick Brook, to cross that.
Anyone else on the board?
Ron, it's Lou again. If you go back to that blow up you just had about lot 15. So the question is, this is going to supposedly be like a farming community. And most of the lots are, you can access them through one major road, but this lot up front, 15.0, I think it is, how do they become part of the farming community? I mean, they don't have a direct road to it. They have to go back out to Lamington Road, go up the long driveway. Is there any idea of if that's going to be part of the farming community or not?
Well, again, what we talked about, well, a lot of things with the Agra Hood is that with the reaction that we got from the board, we'll do that all private. It won't be part of something that's going to be a communal. It'll be individual lots that we're proposing now and not make the cornerstone of the argument the Agra Hood, because it, as we found out, it caused a lot of complications with the board's view towards the Agra Hood. We'll have elements of that. And the connectivity that you talk about, Lou, we're going to have paths and riding paths and walking paths and trail paths that'll connect all these things. So yeah, you may not be able to take your Range Rover, maybe you can take your Range Rover, your Boxster and drive from the one to the other because of the stream corridor, but you're still going to have connectivity that you'll be part of any common element that would be a private common element for some of this farming activity that we talked about.
Okay, thanks.
Any other board member? Okay, I think we'll open it up to the public now. Janine, let's start looking.
Yep. If you can unshare so I can get a better view.
Okay.
So far, so I'm not seeing any. Yeah, up. Chrisman. Right.
Yes.
Good evening, Mr. Christmas. Please raise your right hand again. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And please state your name and address.
Paul Chrisman, 545 Larger Cross Road.
Thank you. Please go ahead, Mr. Chrisman.
Yes, so if you look on the map, I'm block 39, lot 2101. So the driveway that is proposed here is going to go in the back of my property. And the concern I have is one of lot 19 that is going to be overlooking my driveway. And I have a real concern with that. I feel that would devalue my property considerably. I know myself, when I first moved into my home 34 years ago, I changed my driveway so it was an attractive entrance that came down and meandered around and went over the bridge. The question that I was initially going to ask that was just addressed to Mr. Kennedy was, why can't you use lot 15? Because I can tell you this, I'm in the real estate business, and you're going to be trying to sell properties in excess, I would think, of $4 million, and they have to be attractive as you pull in. Having that pond there would make for a very attractive entrance. The other way does not make for an attractive entrance, but it makes a way to get to the back of the property. So I look at it and I don't, and I have a, besides I have a helipad that I don't know how close that is, but that road's coming very, very close to my helipad. And in a township where I think we're trying to preserve land, I really would wonder why we would look to fit this into our zoning. Variances don't have to be granted. As I think if I read this right, the developer's looking for almost as many variances and waivers as he is lots.
Do you have a question, Mr. Chrisman?
Again, I would question why you can't do it on lot 15 and lot 19. My understanding is has never been able to perk for years and years. That property had been for sale for, I think, at least 15 years. They were my questions.
Thank you. Kennedy?
Ron, why don't you address those again? And I know you answered it from the chair lady about lot 15, but maybe answer that again for Mr. Chrisman, and also confirm whether you have septic suitability tests for lot 19.
Certainly. As I stated in the report before, is on lot 1501, there's a significant stream corridor that's there that is regulated not only for the stream corridor, but then also the environ around the pond. So unlike that relocation of Mr. Chrisman's driveway 15 or 20 years ago, whenever that was, there was significantly less regulations associated with disturbances in those areas. So while that may have been allowed at that time, there's some real challenges with going around there. Aesthetically, I agree, it'd be gorgeous. It's a beautiful area that's there. So that's not the issue. The issue more is the ability to access that and get permits that go through there. And for the fact that, there's houses close to it. If we go and put the lot over by lot 15 along that driveway, then there's 2 or 3 houses on lot 13.02 to the west side of the property that would have, I'll say, similar type of concerns. We'd be back in that same issue where they'd have concerns too. And there's 2 houses that are relatively close to that common property line. So I just think it's low probability of getting a crossing for a road that complies with RSIS standards. And I think we're just moving the problem from one side of the lands to the other side of the land. And there's houses that are close to that on the west side of the project. As far as the perk, I know we did soil testing out there. I believe we didn't do it, but we had another firm do it. But we did get some suitable permeability on lot 15. There was tests that were done years and years over the years that people had done certain things on there with the previous owner. But we went in there with the new owner, and we did find some positive readings down in there.
Ron, what is the distance, if you know, from the proposed access road to Mr. Chrisman's house?
Let me zoom in. I guess I'm not sharing the screen. So as I'm zooming into my drawing, you're not seeing that, but give me a second.
You can go back. I mean, you can go back. I'll just have to go back and forth.
Yeah, hold on. I'm opening up my drawing so I can figure that out. From the property line, of the track boundary, the property line, which would be the edge of the right of way, not the road, to the closest point of the Chrisman house would be about 160 feet.
That's to the house,
To the house, from
To
the
the-
property line
property line to the house.
to the house. So the closest property line on what we're talking about here to the closest point of the house is 160 feet. And that area is generally the garage area of the house.
And
What
Ron,
about
how about to his Hella stop?
Yeah.
If you know where it is.
Yeah, I do know where it is. Yeah, that Hella stop, that's fairly close to the property. That's with probably 50 feet to the property line. That current Hella stop.
Okay.
I'm just looking at the aerial now. I don't have that located on my survey. But even the road itself, all the utilities are going to be underground. It's just a surface disturbance. There's not any above ground features there.
I looked that up in our regulations, and it says that the touchdown area shall be located not less than 280 feet from all property lines and structures.
Did we lose it? What happened here?
George, you just put up the screen.
Oh, did I? I'm sorry.
It looks good though. I mean, again, George, if you want to talk about that, that's the aerial image. I'm not exactly sure where we are here, but
Well, what I'm trying to figure out, it looks like the existing house on lot 21, and then is that Mr. Chrisman's house there?
yeah, yes.
So it looks like there's kind of a shared driveway now, or
That's been removed. I don't know when, but there was a shared driveway. It's been removed. Yeah, but they both touch the property line right now.
uh-huh.
Yeah, there's a fence there now, but the physical driveway comes right up there today. If you looked at an image.
Do we know where the heliport is?
On this image itself, it's between the tennis court and the property line. So George, just a little lower where your hand is at, right there. Yep, right about there, George, where your hand is. That's about the area where the not heliport, the Hella stop.
And that's supposed to be 280 feet away from any structures or property lines.
Yeah, and I'm just assuming that was grandfathered. It was built prior to that rule being in there.
Okay.
That would be the only, the thing I would know.
Now, where is, I remember there's a
We
place.
shouldn't use this exhibit, George. It's not, I don't think it's part of the.
Okay,
plan, so-
boss, I'm out.
Thank you.
There was a spot I remember being that they described where there'd be an annual get together or people would be invited to sample the fruits of the land, so to speak. And I think it's right in that area near where this helistop is.
Yeah, and I think, Nick,
That's a safety issue that kind of comes over here.
I think that notion about the whole agro hood, we're just removing off of that aspect, and we're trying to treat these as individual lots now based on the input that we got from the board and the public. So trying to make all that communal, that would be part of an approval and the justification for any relief that we had when we were proposing the 10 lots. I think that got a lot of confusion on a lot of different angles on that. So I think the simplest thing for us to say is that it would be individual lots, and anything communal at all would be no different that you would do with a neighbor, or a neighbor out here would do with each other, and not try to make that part of something that's formal that would get adopted by this board as an agrihood. I just think it got too complicated. So we're looking at this simpler as just a subdivision of 8 lots, and not trying to add those other elements there. So any references to yoga or anything else that we had in there, communal, we'll be removing any of that off the.
Okay.
Anyone else from the residents?
Bill Kibler?
I wasn't exactly sure how to raise my hand. I appreciate that.
Bill, before you talk, please raise your right hand. Were you previously sworn on this application, Bill?
I was not.
Okay. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you, Bill. And please go ahead and state your name and spell your last name and give us your address.
My name is Bill Kibler, and the last name is spelled Kibler. And my business address is 2121 Larger Cross Road, Bedminster. And I'm here representing Raritan Headwaters. And Madam Chairwoman, I wanted to address specifically some concerns that Raritan Headwaters has about our easement on this property. If there's a more appropriate time in the proceedings to do that, I'm happy to wait, or I can address them now at your preference.
Well, we're really, with questions right now. I don't know if you have any questions at this point.
I don't specifically have questions at this point, so I can wait.
Okay. Well, you'll have an opportunity another time, for sure.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else from the public? Raise your hand. Raise your hand.
Hand up again? Or is,
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
okay,
yes, it was.
yes, it is.
Okay.
I just wanted to confirm when the question came up about the helipad, that the 270 feet, I was the one who was responsible for getting the approvals for that. I don't think there was any grandfathering when I got the approval. But that was all open land there, and they probably would not have granted it if there was a road there. That was my only question.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Anyone else from the public? Raise your hand. We'll look for you.
Nope.
No? No one else? Okay. We'll close it to the public right now. I'll go back to the professionals. Is there anything, Paul or Frank, you want to say anything further at this point?
I don't have anything further at this point. I think the next thing was probably, I think Ron was going to get into his planning testimony.
I have nothing else right now.
All right. Anything more from the board? Tom, how do you think we should proceed with this?
I think we should now have Mr. Kennedy do his planning testimony, and then finish that cross at least.
His cross?
He's going to do testimony about the planning variance issues.
Okay, so he can continue on right now with the variances.
Yeah, I think he should.
Okay.
And Ron, if you would do this, do it also with reference to the list of Mr. Ferrero and his report of the variances and exceptions or design waivers that you need for what appeared to be more lots than you said.
Okay, I'll do that. So let's, if I can get the screen back. Let's see if I can. And put up. Okay, I assume the board can see that color exhibit.
Yes, it is, Ron.
So the variances that we're speaking about are, there's a total of 4 variances. One is for lot 15 on the lot circle, where 500 foot's required and 461's proposed. The other 3 variances are all based on proposed lot 21. The first one is a lot circle, 500 foot is required, 358's proposed. Lot area, 10 acre minimum, we're proposing 7.7 acres. And front yard for remaining lot 21 of 200 foot required, and it's 92 foot from the proposed private right of way to the closest point of the existing Vreeland house. So those are the only variances we're talking about, one on 15 and the other ones all having to do with the lot 21 itself. There is a series of design waivers that are associated with the property, and we're going to break it down into 2 different buckets. The first design waiver under 13.526 is the resource conservation area calculations that identify maximum tract yield. And we talked about this in the beginning of my testimony. So if I apply all 4 existing lots, that's lot 19, 21, 15, and 12, that is 126 acres. The calculations with the environmental constraints come to 7.72 lots, and we're proposing 8. As I said in the previous discussion, is that the only one that is not conforming is what is in green, the portion that is lot 15 and 1501, where the calculations are 1.65 lots, where we're proposing 2. The area in yellow is 4 lots. The area in red and purple is 2 lots, and that's what we're proposing. So the relief truly for that, the design waiver is borne by 15 and 1501. The second criteria for the resource conservation area calculations is the minimum lot area, And in that case, we have both lot 1501 and 15, remaining lot 15. Okay, both of those lots do not conform to the minimum lot area calculation for the environmental constraints. Previously granted, but don't conform. Where for lot 15, it requires 12.15 acre if we take out the different calculations for environmental constraints, and we're at 10.89. On lot 1501, it requires 13.73 acres, and we're at 10.83. The other next one is lot 12, remaining lot 12, which is a 23.65 acre lot. Excuse me, it's a 20.8 acre lot. It requires under the conservation calculations 23.6 acres. So that does not comply. The other 3 lots in yellow on lot 12 do comply. And then lastly, lot 19 is 23.88 acres required, and we're 23.78. So it's truly a 1/10 of an acre. Could we slide something around to conform? Sure, but it is a 1/10 of an acre that's there on remaining lot 19. And I guess it's a debate whether 21 should really be included or not. We don't even meet the minimum lot area. It's 7 acres. But the requirement would be 10.5 acres. So I'm not sure if it's needed for a deviation or not, because it's not even a design waiver. We need a variance for the acreage. So that's a debate whether we need an additional design waiver for that. So I think that's the only discrepancy that in Paul's report versus my report, or my plans that showed that. So in this case, lot 12 would need a design waiver, 19 a design waiver, and the two existing lots, 1501 and 15, that were previously approved, design waivers. So those are the list that I have of the deviations. 3 variances and the series of design waivers based on the resource conservation areas. And I guess, Tom, I would ask, do we agree on that, or does the board professionals not before I go into the testimony? Should we confirm that that's it?
Yeah, I would say, Paul, have you agreed with Ron's explanation of variances?
Yes, I think he's gone through all the ones that I've seen. I don't know if Frank has anything that he might be able to identify as well.
I think it was the front yard location of the accessory building on the reconfigured lot that has the house on it.
Yeah, and we're going to remove that accessory, the accessory use in the building.
But it's still an accessory building in the front yard. That's the point.
No, it's removed, Frank. It's gone.
Oh, God, gone. Okay, I'm sorry. I thought you meant just eliminate the residential use.
No. It's physically, the physical structure is gone. I got a permit and it's been removed.
Gotcha. Okay, thank
It was
you.
brought up in our first application because it was a survey that was done a year before. And since then, they were planning on removing it. They got permits and they did physically remove that structure. So it showed up in our original application. I think, Paul, you brought it up as a potential D variance that was a jurisdictional question. And we took care of that by removing the physical structure.
Thank you.
All right. So
Continue.
all that being said, is that relief in there is the variances that we're seeking are under the primary of a C2 argument, that the enhancements that are being proposed of Lamington Road front yard setbacks, both on lot 19 and lot 15, limiting new curb cuts to Lamington Road to only, with proposing a total of 8 lots, that we would only have 2 curb cuts to Lamington Road, one on the east side, one on the west side, and basically using what's there now. The adaption of the existing driveway into the new private road, so we're not building new, are all public benefits to the public along Lamington Road, and would outweigh any of the relief of the lot circle, the setback, and the lot area for the relief that we're looking for on that. As I said previously, one driving down Lamington Road, or candidly, one driving down this private road, is not going to know the difference of whether a lot circle fit in lot 21 or 19. What they're going to see is a house on lot 19 and a house on lot 21. They're not going to see the rest of the land associated with that. That's going to cause something that's going to look awkward in the landscape. The purposes of zoning, I view, would be advanced by 4055D2 and G, which is to promote sufficient space in appropriate locations, variety of agricultural, residential, recreational, commercial, and open space according to the respective environments, for all the needs of citizens. And I, promote desirable visual environment for creative development techniques, inclusive design and arrangement. With the circumstances that we have with this landlocked piece of land, with reusing the existing lots to the benefit without adding new to those existing lots, we're able to provide a goal of getting to the rear of a landlocked piece. We're developing that consistent with the standards. We're getting enhanced setbacks, again, no curb cuts, and only 2 driveways for 8 lots, which is a pretty low driveway count for even Western Bedminster. And on lot 15, we're eliminating a stream crossing that was previously proposed for a driveway that we're eliminating. From the negative criteria, I think that if approved, would not change the character along Lamington Road, and we protect that by the enhancements that we're talking about. I think to the neighbor that is on lot, I'm trying to get the lot number there, on the Chrisman lot, we can provide a screening, landscaping, and treatments along that property line to minimize any of those impacts for a drive along there that we certainly be willing to do. And the rest of the landscape out there, that's pretty much an agricultural use all surrounding the lot 12 area. I don't think there'd be any changes. We're respecting the tree lines that are there. And I think it's, after a lot of time spent on this, it's a well thought out plan for what we have and the circumstances that we have in front of us. So for that, we look for relief on those couple of variances and the design waivers, knowing that we still comply with the general concept that we get 3 lots or 4 lots in the back, 2 lots on the east side, and we already got relief in the past for the enhancements that we proposed on lot 15. So with that, we'd ask for the board to look favorably to the application.
Anything else, Ron, that you want to?
No, that's it.
Okay. I guess we're finished with this witness. Do we have another witness for this application at this point?
Wait. I have a question.
Okay.
I mean, now, wasn't he a witness as a planner now? He switched roles, is that correct?
Yes, he did.
Okay, so now we would ask him planning questions, is that correct?
You could certainly do that. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Ron, with this road here, tell me the difference between a road like this and a road like Old Farm Lane. What is the difference?
Ron, you're muted.
All right, I'm unmuted. Sorry, I apologize. The difference is Old Farm Lane was built without any agreement and was built, and roads were built, or houses and lots were created before zoning was created. And the issues with Old Farm Lane is that there's not agreements in place other than handshakes about how to maintain that piece of land. Physically, the road here would be designed under a current RSI standard, or a current standard. It's not something that was built back in the 1920s or 1910s, whenever it was originally done. It would meet specific standards. It would be inspected during construction by the township engineer. It would have, we've offered, because of the private road situation, offered to put bonds in place for it, and it would be built to a standard. There'd be stormwater management associated with it. But the most important thing that's different between this and Old Farm Lane is it would have a agreement for maintenance that would be shared, not by the town, but would be shared by all those folks that have access to it. So in this case, it would be the 4 lots in the back in yellow, the 2 lots in red, and the 1 lot in green. They'd all be responsible for that. That would be an agreement, George, that would be prepared by our team, by Mike Lavery and his team, and would be reviewed by your professionals as well, to make sure that it covers all the proper elements of a private driveway, or in this case, a private road agreement. So it doesn't have town obligation, but it has requirements for its operation and its maintenance that would be a cost that would be borne by those residents. Common, I do this all the time on projects like this. So it's a common feature, but it doesn't have the burden of these loose agreements or no agreements on something like Old Farm Lane that causes a lot of problems with those residents on that road.
Oh, okay, thank you. Mr. Banish, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yes. So Frank,
Hi,
talk.
George.
Hi, hi. If you could, Frank, talk about what it would be like as a, if you're a planner to have a road, like go a new road come along your residential / farm property in the middle of Bedminster. How do you look on that as a planner?
You know, George, I'm not sure that that's so much of a planning question. If you're saying where would be the most desirable place to lay out a road like that so that it had the least potential negative impact on any neighbors, it likely wouldn't be along a property line. I think that's a clear point. I thought the chairman, when she suggested the possibility of coming.
You're breaking up, Frank.
Can you hear us, Frank? We lost you. I think we lost you.
I think we did.
We did lose Frank.
Sorry.
There he is.
There.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we're here. Go ahead.
Okay, so my point was that the approach through lot 15 would allow basically a reversal of the road and would have the effect of a lot line impact on the other side of the tract. So it's because of the way the tract is laid out as a big U shape, the only way you could put the road someplace where it really wouldn't impact any neighbors would be in the middle of lot 15 or something probably not practical.
Okay, thank you. Not practical for who?
Not practical if the objective is to achieve access to the lot 12 in the rear.
Okay, but practical if you're trying to not impact the neighbor.
I missed that, George.
No, I just said it depends what you're trying to be practical for. If you're trying to help the
Sure.
neighbor out, then it would be good.
Frank, can we hear you? Can you hear us?
Yeah, I didn't realize there was still a question there. I thought George made a comment.
And I have another question. So Ron, how many of the lots are actually conforming of the 8 lots? Is it 3?
Look, George, again, I'll go back to this, is all 4 of the lots here conform to everything except the one lot 12 that doesn't conform to the environmental standard. But all of them conform to the lot size and everything else except this
Well,
one.
wait. It doesn't conform. Right? No, wait. One doesn't conform, right?
These
They
3
all
lots conform.
One doesn't conform, right?
These 3 lots conform.
Right. Which one doesn't?
This one here.
Okay. And then what about the 2 green ones? Do they conform?
No, we got relief on that originally, and there's no change.
Right. And then what about the other 2, the red ones?
Nope. No, they don't because of different issues associated with those.
Okay, so 3 of the lots are conforming, just so I understand.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else from the board?
On the planning testimony.
On the planning testimony, right, you're right.
The argument with regard to lot 15 is moot because we've already passed that, correct, Ron?
Well, I think technically I reintroduced that project or that property because we made it part of this application. But let's assume that the board, no, you're not going to approve this. I still have that underlying approval that I'd have to go and perfect for that lot if the board said that we're not going to do anything here. So by default, I have to re-justify it. But if the board said no, I still have that other approval that I can still use and get 2 lots on that property.
And Rich, just if I can weigh in for 1 second, the board did approve that subdivision. However, as Ron just mentioned, the subdivision has not yet been perfected. So it is only a single lot today.
And the only reason it hasn't been perfected is because in order to perfect it, we would have gone to get the driveway crossing permit. When these other lots, this lot 12 became available and went under contract and ultimately was purchased, then it didn't make any sense to go through the process with DEP when we thought we had a better alignment through here.
All right, so, and Ann, so now that you're changing the access, you got to put it back on the table.
Well, yeah, I think so. I mean, that's why we put it in here. And again, I'll say this, in the lot yield calculation, it penalizes now because it looks like we can only get 7 lots when we're asking for 8. And it's really borne by what was granted already in this green. In the yellow and the red, we have 6 lots and we're proposing 6 lots.
No, and 12.0 is well in excess of the 10 acre minimum. And where is it lacking?
Just in the environmental constraints calculation, when we put all the different levels of repairing corridors and wetlands and transition areas, it needs to be about 2 acres larger than it is now to conform.
Because there's so much of it is wetlands or otherwise.
Yeah, you see it on it's hard to see on the screen, but the Middlebrook runs through some of this along this property line here. So that's regulated.
Okay.
But again, there's still nice building envelopes, a couple of acres of building envelope that's on those lots. So it's not like it's an undesirable, piece of land that you're not going to be able to build something on. There's a beautiful fields there that we can build on the edge of that would be consistent with your zoning standards.
Is there anyone else on the board that wants to ask Ron anything?
Yes, it's Lou. I have a question for Ron and or Paul or Frank. Our zoning, it requires a 10 acre minimum, but does it specifically say 10 acres after environmental constraints and after riparian rights have been considered, or is it just 10 acres?
I'll talk quickly about that, Lou. Maybe the minimum lot area is 10 acres. The resource constraints calculations are kind of a backwards calculation where it tells you how much larger the lot needs to be than 10 acres because of the constrained area on it. For example, what remaining lot 12 needs to be under the resource constraints ordinance, rather than 10 acres, it needs to be 23.65 acres to comply with the ordinance, and it's 20.84.
Okay. So the ordinance does include the restraints.
That's the resource constraints calculation, and that's the design waiver that Ron's talking about.
And to put it as less of a standard, it's not it's a net 10 acres, not a gross 10 acres. And you have it in your ordinance as a design standard as opposed to a variance.
Okay.
So you have it less of a burden, but it's still there as relief that's needed for that.
Any other board member? No, not seeing anybody. I guess I should open up to the public for any planning issues for Ron.
Yes.
Yes. Bill Kibler. Bill?
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Mr. Kennedy, when you were doing the resource constraints calculations, did you account for the conservation easement on lot 12, block 39, lot 12?
No, and their ordinance is very specific that it doesn't need to be taken into account for the property. The ordinance was written that it's only the restrictions, easements that are imposed by the board as part of a land use application. And that's not the case in that Irway easement.
So even though the easement is for a public purpose, you didn't have to.
Yeah, that's not what the word's saying, correct? Yeah, we're not deviating from the easement. We're not showing any encroachments into those easements, But according to the way Bedminster wrote that ordinance, it doesn't need to be taken into account.
Thank you.
Anyone else in the public?
I'll go back up.
No. No, it looks not.
Madam Chairman, I just, in talking to our client and attorney too, is if the board, in looking at where we can put that driveway back along that common property line, I think it's a real challenge to move it to the other side. We've looked at that, we've drawn stuff up, we couldn't make that. But someone brought up, and I think Frank did, or someone, where we would put it. Would you put it down the middle of the property line or something? But we'd be willing to slide that road over and maybe 50 foot away from the property line to give a bigger buffer transition to that. I mean, that's something that we physically could do. So it's not right along that property line, and then work on a screening, plan along there. I mean, it's something that could be done if the board felt strongly about that.
Ron, does that change the lot area of that parcel?
It will. And, the only thing then, Paul, is as Tom Collins brought out, then I'd have to try to bubble the lot out where I'm pointing to right now a little more.
And how is lot 21 then going to be reconfigured if you're going to put the road down the middle?
Well, I wouldn't say down the middle. I'd say move it over 50 feet from where it is. Down the middle, because then you got just no man's land on either side. Then it's not a field. It's not, all you're doing is creating these buffers. That doesn't make any sense there.
Would you be able to do it along that full property line there, Ron? Or would you have to, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Because the house almost comes right up to the corner.
Yeah, I think we nip the corner right here. I think we'd put it out in the field, and then, Jeff, as it gets close to this, we'd have to still land right down here at the corner so we can bend this out around the house. The house is a little farther down here.
Okay.
But I don't think I'd be any closer to the setback. Excuse me. I'd not be any closer from the right of way to the house. I'd still keep that same setback or make it maybe a little larger, but I can push it out here where the house, the Chrisman house is. I can push it out and push it into the field a little. And I'm saying go out 50 foot away.
Thanks.
Would that make it part of the road right of way, Ron?
It has to go to someone. I don't know whether it's worth. The problem is if I make it part of the road right away, then any relief gets more. So I can look at that and I can assign it to purple. I can assign it to yellow.
How much would it be if you signed it to yellow? That wouldn't bring us anywhere close to that.
I doubt it. I mean, again, I don't think it's not going to get me 2 acres. No, that's not gonna,
I think so.
yeah. And it's constrained free land there, so it would count directly, but it wouldn't get 2 acres to make that lot conforming.
Okay, it is 10 o'clock. My question is there any other witnesses for this application? Back to Mr. Levery, the attorney.
Yeah, no, there is not, Madam Chair.
Okay, well, I think Ron has some work to do before we can start to think about any kind of approval here.
I mean, they're going to want to sketch. They're going to want to see it.
Would you want a sketch of the road, Madam Chair, if we could move that over 50 feet?
Well, I do think that has become an issue. It's always been an issue for me where that road is. And also, we've got quite a few lots that are non-conforming. That's an issue for me as well. So, I don't know if it's working. We can't hear you.
Yeah. Okay, I guess we could do a drawing with showing the road moved off there with a buffer. And then I don't know that we're going to be able to do any.
Eliminate any variances.
Yeah, it's not going to eliminate any variances though.
If they keep the same number of lots, it's exacerbating variance.
And there's no in reducing lots, doesn't help at anything. What's helping to reduce the lot where the house is?
I don't know who's talking. We can't hear you.
I'm sorry.
Is Tom there?
Yes, I'm here. I was not talking.
Oh, okay.
I think it's Mike. I think it's maybe Mike and Ron talking privately. I don't know. But.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Okay.
So, listen, Madam Chairman, I defer to you and the board of what you want to do. As far as I'm concerned, the hearing of this case could end now, and we could perhaps decide, if the board's ready, whether to grant the variances requested and the site plan subdivision exceptions from the resource constraints ordinance for the lots that are that need them. So, but it is late, and I think Larry's point is well taken, that the addition of land to the right of way from lot 21, or even the shifting of the road to 50 feet will only reduce the lot size of lot 21 below the current proposal, which is 7.72 acres, which is quite a bit less than the minimum 10 acres, to something less than that. And if you're not going to grant that, it isn't worth talking about this. You're not going to grant the 7.72 and all the other deviations. So I defer to you, but maybe the applicant needs your direction and your decision on the variances and exceptions to whether to keep pressing for 8 lots. This is a request for 8 lots where a maximum of 7 is allowed after the resource constraints adjustments under any calculation that they do.
Yeah, we had them in the application.
All right, well, let's open it up to the board, and if anybody would like to just start the discussion, feel how the board feels about this application. Opposed.
Doesn't matter.
Carol, it's Lou. I guess I'll start. I think if they can move the road over 50 feet away from Mr. Christmas' property, that's a good thing. I think if they can bubble the property out along the Lamington Road area there to create a larger lot, I think that's a good thing. I think when we look at the totality of all the different things that can go on this property now and in the future, private residential homes are probably the best option. So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Okay. Anyone else?
Oh, sure, I'll go. So Bedminster, there was a reference, I think, that Mr. Christen made, that Bedminster has gone out of its way to promote large lots in the R10 zone. And the R10 zone is governed not just by a 10-acre minimum, but by the other zoning requirements that apply in the R10 zone. So R10 is certainly the name we give it, 10 being the 10 acres, but there's a lot of other stuff that goes with it, including the 500-foot circle. So when I look at what's being proposed, I see a diminution of the commitment to large lots in this part of town. And when I look at the land configuration, and I think the reference was made to hardship. Well, the hardship is the assemblage of these parcels. And yet they don't fit a nice square or rectangle It's oddly shaped, and these were required in 3 different parcels, the interior parcel, and then the 2 parcels fronting Lamington. To me, this isn't a hardship that just happened. This is a hardship because these were the properties that the applicant purchased, knowing the zoning in place, knowing the environmental constraints, both the wetlands issues as well as her own resource requirements. And the hardship then comes not from the land, but also from the density that the applicant is seeking. These hardships might actually disappear. And I'm not going to talk about lot 15, which we did previously approve from this board, but looking at lot 19, lot 21, and the portion of remaining lot 12 that touches remaining lot 21. There's just too many houses out there, and that seems to me to be your problem. And I know there was discussion about the Vreeland house. Well, I'm looking at that, and in my perspective, something in either in that purple, the red, or the back of remaining lot 12 has to go.
Anyone else from the board?
My feeling at this point is it's too much stuff for the amount of space they have. There are too many constraints. There's too much wetland border area, riparian buffer area involved. I just feel like the scope is too large for the amount of space they're dealing with.
Okay. Any other board member?
This is Rich.
Yes.
I'd probably like to see it be just the 7 lots, however that's configured, by adding something to 12 to get it to the minimum size it needs to be. And maybe combining 19 and 21 completely. I don't have so much a problem with the location of the road. And I have kind of a rhetorical question. You know, with respect to, you know, we're fussing over this location of this road along the adjoining property line, but there's a heliport or helipad, you know, within the restrictions already. I think, as Nick pointed out, if I completely missed that point, pardon me, but I think Nick pointed that out. So in my mind, you know, it's pretty hard to throw stones when you live in a glass house with respect to the heliport, I'm sorry to say. So I don't have a problem with the road location at all. Maybe I'd like to see it 7 lots. Maybe I'd like to see 12 a little bit bigger and 19 and 21 combined. But I think the concept of this agro community is wonderful. I'm in favor of it, as long as we can do a little better job meeting some of our criteria.
Any other board member?
I agree with Rich's sentiment too.
Anyone else?
Nick?
First of all, there is no agricultural plan anymore, right? So it's just an ordinary development with a bunch of houses on it. So I don't see why we should be making exceptions at the low end of size for that part of Bedminster. We could just, you know, somebody one day might decide to buy all the stuff in yellow and light brown and build one house on it, you know? I mean, that's what I think of when I think of that part of Bedminster. So I'm not enthused about approving this plan.
All right, I'll chime in here also. You know, I think both Nick, to echo what Nick and the mayor talked about, if anything, you know, we don't want to get the short end of the stick on these subdivisions. It's got to be reversed, if anything. Okay? You got to be oversized. That's how I see it. You know, you're squeezing way too much in here. You know, again, Larry hit the nail on the head. You know, these lots were all assembled piecemeal, and look, you're trying to, I think, squeeze too much out. It's my 2 cents.
Okay.
Yep. This is Jeff. I'm inclined to agree. I think their answer is really here, 7 lots. What those lots are, I mean, combining 19 and 21 may make most sense. Adding a little bit more to the remaining 12, I think that's the answer, frankly.
Okay. If anyone else has anything to say on the board? Hearing nothing further, I'll leave it up to the attorney. If you,
Yeah, Madam Chair, I think we heard loud and clear where the board's going. So I think we're going to go back and see if we can address some of these issues. Maybe we can, maybe we can't. And then see you next month.
okay. I'm not sure when we get you on the agenda. We have to, Paul, we have to look at that, right?
Yeah, right now we have the Route 206 application that's been carried to the second meeting in December. We have a relatively small application that will be on for completeness next week, probably scheduled for December. I'm not sure, Janine, if we have anything else that's currently in the hopper.
Well, we have, on December 3rd, we have Trump, as long as they don't postpone again. We could do B and D then, and then on December 10th is 1520 Bedminster. So for us, probably the earliest is January. And the first meeting is usually the reorg for us. So I mean, I
Correct.
guess we can still do it then.
And speaking of that, when is our reorg for the town? What date? Do we have a date for that yet?
We don't have a date for that. We don't have a resolution. for it.
Okay. Would you
Hopefully,
put-
hopefully it is not staring at your computer.
Make it on New Year's Day? Is that, because that is that Friday that we usually have a.
Usually-
No, usually the Friday, the first Friday.
The reorg?
Yeah,
The reorg, we've moved it around. We've had it on Thursday, we've had it on Friday.
okay. So maybe we'd have it on Monday then?
Yeah, if they do
New
the,
Year's Day is Friday, that's what I'm saying.
right, if they do the Monday, the 4th, then our meeting on the 7th will be fine.
Would be fine,
It just
right.
depends when they decide to do it.
Right, that's what
And
I'm
it's
asking.
Reorg within the first week.
Yes, right,
Right,
the
so-
first week.
We should be okay for the January 7th meeting.
Right, okay,
It's a possibility we won't be, but
yeah. Okay, so we'll plan to be January 7th at this point.
yes, it was already
Yeah,
announced.
Madam Chair, if for some reason the Trump application doesn't go, because Ron and I are both on that one, with all the things going on now, there's a possibility that we won't be ready on the 3rd. Would we be able to maybe utilize that spot if we're in a position to move forward on this application?
How do you feel, Paul, about that?
It's fine with me if his other client wants to defer, that frees the
Yeah.
spot.
I'm not representing that. I'm just saying that if that's a possibility.
All right, well,
But I guess we could carry that date and time for the public and for the record to be potentially carried again. If you say, if the Lamington Golf Club application is not asking to proceed on the 3rd, so
yes,
we have to carry to a date certain. I'm a little bit concerned about January 7th. I hear the concept, but I believe that we have had trouble having a first Thursday meeting and working it out with the committee's first meeting. So I don't want to schedule something that we actually have to cancel, then the notice wouldn't be carried. So are you sure,
Understood.
are you sure, Janine, that I don't know, I'm just.
No, I don't have anything as far as the reorg, especially because we don't know if we can have it anywhere at this point and who would be there and how many people we could have. So,
but we
no.
still have to do it within the first week.
Yeah, we still have to have a reorg from
Right.
the township.
Well, let's go over that. I realize that, but the best it is best that the committee decides first when they reorg, and then we reorg after them. And that's just probably.
We don't know what theirs is going to be, so.
I understand that, but we cannot schedule, we really shouldn't have a meeting if the committee doesn't reorg. That's sort of what I'm saying, although I want to protect our rights, okay? But so that being said, it might be wise to do the December 3rd carry for Bedminster Farms based upon what Mr. Lavery said. And then we'll know on December 3rd whether if we can't do Bedminster Farms, we'll know what date we can carry it to. See that?
Well, certainly Michael and Ron are in the best position to know if there's a likelihood or possibility of the Trump application being moved. So.
Okay, and then of course they have to notice, so we'll leave it up to you to.
And
notice.
And no matter what, by December 3rd, we will have figured out what we're doing with reorg.
Right.
Obviously not going to be the same as we've done in past years with the Betty Merck dinner, but we are trying, Judy and I are trying to figure out what to do.
Do something.
And where to do it.
Mhm.
Big open,
Right.
Okay.
big open fields.
Pray for warm weather.
Warm weather, everyone huddle under the heaters, the plucky.
I've been.
We're all
Big top, Larry.
George.
Okay.
Okay, so we should be clear that we will carry the Bedminster Farms application. The hearing on that will be carried to December 3rd at 7 p.m. for a remote meeting. That is the current carry. And Mr. Lavery, do you extend the time frame for action till the say the end of December?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Lavery. And then,
Thank you.
Mr. Lavery, you don't have to renotice, for that meeting. And if you can let us know if you can, if you're going to, so let's call it switch cases and not do Bedminster Farms on the 3rd, let us know before December 3rd and we'll announce it at that meeting. And also the public could learn from your letter that you're carrying it to a date certain, asking to carry it to a date certain in January when we know when that date will be. Does that work for you, Mr. Lavery?
That's fine. I appreciate the accommodation.
Okay, thank you.
All right. I think we need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Good night.
Good
night, everybody.
night, everybody. Stay safe, stay healthy.
Good night.